이미 많이 이겨왔기 때문에 이번에 당연히 이겨야 되는 거고.
We'll try to make it interesting for them. I wanna make them sweat for it.
I was born from the bottom, but raised to the top. I was born from the bottom, but raised to the top. I was born from the bottom, but raised to the top. I'ma keep on climbing, I ain't gonna stop.
They will sweep the Flashwolves. They will defend their MSI championship.
They were looking to prove to the world, and G2 are redeemed.
저희가 사실 지기를 원하는 사람들도 되게 많은 것 같아요. 물론 질 가능성은 좀 염두를 해야겠지만 저는 질 거라고 생각하지 않기 때문에 문제 없을 거라고 생각합니다.
We are the best team in Europe. We can make them struggle.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our final match of the 2017 Mid-Season Invitational. 13 teams enter the tournament for a month of action, and it all comes down to today's series here in the Jeunesse Arena in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Hello, everyone. I am James Dash Patterson, and with me for this final fight are Isaac Gazelle, Cummings Bentley, Chris Papa Smithy Smith, and Joshua Jat Leesman. Gentlemen, we've made it to the end of the road. Only one more best of 5 to go before we crown our MSI champions. How are you feeling in this venue, which is electric?
Pumped up. The fans have been so loud for so long, but not as loud as they've been today.
Let's be clear, this has been going on for hours leading up to the opening of this show. Had to turn the sound up in my own headset just so I could make sure I hear you guys. How about you two? How are you two feeling?
I'm absolutely loving it. I mean, the fans are so excited, and so am I.
Everyone's hyped about this. I'm hyped. The crowd's hyped. I just want to get it started.
Well, we're going to have to wait just a little bit to get it started before we get the games underway. Gentlemen, before we get down to business, it's time to meet the contenders for the 2017 Mid-Season Invitational Championship.
Senhoras e senhores, deem boas-vindas aos finalistas do Mid-Season Invitational 2017. Representando a LCS Europa, G2 Esports.
G2 Esports have killed Team Solo Mid. They've routed them. They've aced them.
They're going to get them all.
She is down. Triple kill to Perks and G2. G2 Esports take down WE, and G2 are redeemed.
O técnico Young Buck. O reserva Upset. Jogando na rota superior, Expect. Na selva, Trick. Jogando na rota do meio, Perks. O carregador, Sven. E o suporte, Miffy. G2 Esports. Do outro lado, defendendo o título do MSI e atuais campeões do mundo, SK Telecom T1.
SKT dominate G2 to lock in first.
Vidat follows it through for his 14th kill.
They will sweep the Flashwolves, and they will do what they have always done, achieve victory.
O treinador, Coma. O substituto na selva, Play. campo, Rune. Na selva, Peanuts.
Holy shit.
Na rota do meio, Faker. Na rota inferior, o carregador, Bang. E o suporte, Wolf. Vamos dar novamente as boas-vindas aos finalistas do MSI 2017, G2 Esports e SK Telecom T1.
Cheers for both squads there, but no surprise that the SK Telecom roster there gets just an overwhelming decibel level in terms of the cheers that are coming after each of their names.
I mean, I'm getting chills. I get these fans super hyped to see them in the LCK finals. The world fans don't get to see them that often. The Brazilian fans are making themselves heard around the world.
That's absolutely right. Let's go ahead and get a refresher on how our finalists arrived here in the finals today. SK Telecom topped the group stage and beat Flash Wolves 3-0 after entering the semifinals as the #1 seed, whereas the G2 Esports Club clinched a bracket spot on the final day of the group stage and upset Team WE yesterday in a 3-1.
And it was a very exciting match. I mean, not many people thought G2 would make it this far, and they've done very well to make it.
And more importantly, this is the first EU versus Korea final, or rather EU representation in a Riot final since Season 1. So again, in terms of that redemption story, throw that out the window. These guys have surpassed that. They're looking for greatness. We still want to look at your favorite moments, though, from MSI. So hit us up at LOL Esports and tell us what's going on in your highlight reel. Be sure to include the hashtag MSI 2017 so we can check back in later today. For 2 years, though, SKT has been the best in the world, and they are here to defend their MSI title. But let's talk about what's different with this squad this time around.
And it's been an organizational story, Dash and guys here, just because, remember, we almost forget that it's actually been 10 players, actually, that have made up that 2 years of domination. You think all the way back to 2015 Worlds, names like Marin and EasyHoon, of course, were in the equation then. Last year, we saw people join and end. Blank joined the team. Bengi, of course, no longer with the squad. Also, Duke has to be talked about. Blank as a substitute today, and the 5UC. This is a fearsome roster.
Yeah, and speaking of the 5UC today and their new additions, Pony, he dominated the EU LCS, he dominated the NA LCS. Now he is dominating in the LCK, making a case for himself as one of the best in the world. And Peanut, this guy was already a monster, showing up huge at Worlds, and now for SKT, I believe he's the undisputed best jungler in the world.
And I think it's easy to forget how impressive their sustained dominance has actually been. It wasn't until 2016 that a world champion actually made it even into Worlds next year, yet we're now talking about SKT winning every tournament for 2 years straight. It is absolutely unprecedented how they continue to rewrite history and continue to extend their legacy.
Yeah, 3-time world champions, 2-time defending champions there, and the defending champions here of the MSI title. So again, that resume is ultra impressive, rather, and they're just looking to add more accolades to it. Now, G2 has dominated Europe and finally found success and redemption on the international stage. So now, what's left, right? It's reaching for greatness.
Yeah, they finally delivered after a year of international disappointments, and you could tell how excited the entire G2 roster was. They just kind of seemed to relax a little bit afterwards. They were so happy about it, and now I wonder what their next level is going to be, because it doesn't end when you make the finals. You still now have to play SKT.
And this was definitely a prediction I was happy to get wrong. I looked at the lineups and I said, okay, Trick is the big weakness here. How is he going to stack up to Condi, who had been the really big star for WE? And they rewrote that story. Trick came back man of the match. Man of the tournament, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself there, but such a big step up, and he was what facilitated G2 to end their struggles in the early game, really step up, and he's got that fearsome opposition today, but if he can do it again, I'm not willing to say G2 will win, but G2 will make one hell of an impression.
And I mean, the thing is, yes, you're going up against the undisputed best team in the world, but you have an opportunity here. You have an opportunity to prove yourself as the best team in the world. If you take down SKT, you achieve greatness.
Yeah, you see so many teams lock up when they play against SKT. G2 has kind of been through the locking up phase. It feels like they've kind of conquered that demon of being able to play on a big stage. But listening to that crowd at the start, I have never heard a crowd this packed, this loud during an introduction, and it's a new stage.
I mean, it's a year's worth of weight and pressure off your shoulders. You've done what you needed to do to kind of get back to that status, right? Where now everything beyond this point is something that you're reaching for, and now you can do it with kind of unbridled aggression. Now, we need to talk about what G2 will have to do, though, in order to challenge SKT. Because it's one thing to say, all right, they've lived up to, you know, their goals for this tournament, but you still have this best-of-5 to play. And SKT is no small opponent. So what are we looking for out of this G2 squad to propel them forward?
Yeah, so the things that they've done the best is they've identified their win conditions, played towards that, and I feel like had very strong drafts. I feel like Young Buck obliterated Team WE in the draft phase in almost every game yesterday, and they need to do something similar against SKT, who have at times shown generic drafts. Now, we don't know if that's going to happen, but that's what they need to be able to do.
I mean, they showed the biggest adaptation, I have to say, was one trick. Sure, Trick's performance, but as you say, Young Buck's drafts in the second week, I think, were really impressive. You just look at their early mid-game focus. They actually dropped 11 minutes off taking the mid-lane turret. You might ask, what does that mean? Well, it feels like the early to mid-game, the mid-game kind of begins when you take the mid-lane turret, when you open up the map, and they were able to do that so much earlier, and that was really credit to Young Buck.
And at the end of the day, you know, you can get a good draft, you can have a good individual performance, but you're going to have the best series that any of these players have ever played all at the same time to be able to take down SKT.
Absolutely, but if we look at those individuals and kind of the matchups that they have across the board, I think with very few losses, sustained losses for SKT to look at, we have to look at the two that came in group stage. Faker kind of being the vulnerability of the team there, and if we look at Perks on the flip side of it, this guy has had a tremendous tournament.
And it's so difficult to go up against Faker because not only are you going up against the best mechanical player in the world, his reputation also impacts the matchup. You need to be fearless and overconfident. Perks has actually been both of those things in the past, and that's the mindset he needs to take into Faker today.
You know, and for Faker, people were questioning him coming into the semifinals. You know, he hadn't been having the best tournament, and then he put Maple in the dumpster. I mean, he absolutely destroyed that matchup, and that is the most recent games that he has played. Perks will be looking at that, and it's got to be a bit intimidating.
And that's the thing, right? You got to be ready to go up against a faker like that, knowing that, hey, maybe he'll have an off day, but you got to be ready to play him at his best. Look at another lane. I want to talk about the bot lane as a whole here. We've always talked about Bang and Sven here coming into the tournament as these guys are stellar ADCs, top tier. Their supports, though, right alongside them. Wolf having a fantastic year, and Mithy, particularly in that best-of-5 series, really put up some fantastic individual play.
And the other fun thing is that this narrative, of course, of SKT's dominance began in many ways at 2015 Worlds. These two bot lanes faced each other. It was SKT versus Origin way back then, and that was, of course, the bot lane matchup. A lot has happened since then, but the respect and also the skill of both these bot lanes are still equally respected.
All right, well, the players are almost ready, so before we get into it, I need you guys to tell me, who do you think will be the 2017 Mid-Season Invitational champions? Azael, starting with you.
Well, before I answer, I have to ask you a question. Do you believe in miracles?
You know what, Azael? I absolutely...
No, well, I don't. It's going to be 3-0 SKT.
All right, that was simple enough. You shut me down. No miracles happening today, at least over on that side of the table. Papa Smithy, what do you got for me?
I mean, I loved what I saw yesterday from G2, but I think we are in an unprecedented time for us. Well, we know this already. I know what you're going to say, but we're in the middle of a dominance that we may never see again in League of Legends. So I can't go against SKT, but even as a Korean analyst, I kind of now wonder, what if?
Absolutely hard-pressed to find a reason that SKT wouldn't win this game. Jack, can you do it for me? Or
yeah, I'm not going to belabor this too much. I've seen so many SKT best-of-5s go their way. The last time they lost was at MSI, so we know it definitely can happen. And boy, I'd actually like to see it with the way G2 has lived up to every single challenge they've faced. But you can't go against the percentages in this case, and I think SKT will take it.
All right, every analyst bone in your body up here is telling you SKT. It's time to pass it over to the casters to kick off the finals. As we go, Mithy tells us that while you can beat SKT, there's no room for error.
Well, if we do get an early game lead, try to not make decisions that give them a chance to fight back. Just take it slow, play for a slow snowball, and build up on your lead slowly but steadily. I think that's the first thing. Don't go for trades. Don't just play a very slow and steady game. I think that's the main thing. Try to not give them fights because they're pretty good at the they're just good players, right? So if you try to fight them, make sure you get the right fight. Don't just fight them for no reason. Fight them with a purpose. That's probably the main way to beat SKT. Play slow and steady and fight with a purpose. Don't give them the fights they want. And I mean, it sounds really easy, but it's not.
It might sound easy, but it's definitely not. We'll see if G2 are up to the challenge. Welcome to the Cast Desk, everyone. My name is David Freak Turley, joined here by Sam, Kobe, Hartman, Kensler, and Martin DeFicio Lunga. Gentlemen, Can G2 be Giant Slayer?
Fight with a purpose, Freak.
Fight with a purpose.
And Mithy just said it, you know, just don't make mistakes, slow and steady, and then you can beat SKT. The problem is, very few teams in the world can play without making any mistakes.
Very few teams can, but every top team from every region wants their shot at SKT, and that's what G2 have earned here. Very excited to see how far they can get.
And you get very few shots a year, and it's what a lot of these teams, a lot of these players dream for. You hope you can scrim SKT sometime in your lifetime, but getting a chance to dethrone them in the best-of-5 final, this is the culmination of the G2 players' careers so far.
Yeah, on the international stage with one of the most passionate audiences we have ever had.
And casters, of course.
And
We're into this game.
casters.
Win, come on. Let's do it. First pick a man face.
You see the MSI trophy on the line here, and tonight we will crown the best team in the world. Will it be SKT holding on to their title, or will G2 make the upset happen as we go into the picks and bans?
So, should be a Karma ban right now. Very surprised to see SKT ban away Twitch when they are, in fact, the team who's playing a lot of Twitch.
Bang is definitely the premier Twitch player here, and it feels like in scrims, he's encouraged a lot of the other AD carries to pick it up as well, and we've seen, you know, a resurgence in many of the other players that used to play him as well.
Now, for G2, they banned the two supports we often see banned away. Zyra was banned in every game from them against WE, and it is still an option here for Wolf to play it if it's open.
Yeah, definitely true, and the Nami as well. I mean, Wolf is interesting because while all the other, you know, supports are like, yes, Lulu / Karma are very similar, almost the same thing here, he actually hasn't even played a game of Karma at the tournament, and that's huge impact on those other peeling supports you talk about.
All right, so again, all bans are now locked in. Double hyper carry bans from SKT. They definitely do not want to allow G2 to go full late game with those, but Caitlyn is still open, and she's actually been the #1 pick for Sven when they play late game comps.
Exactly, you know, and the Ivern shields are still available, but SKT very clearly are making that move towards a more early oriented game. They've picked up the Lee Sin, crucial for Peanut. He is probably the best Lee Sin in the world.
Yes,
He said it
still
himself.
undefeated, here in 2017.
And now we'll see what G2's style is going to be. Looks like they do want to protect Sven in the back line. Graves is up, but they'd rather play Ivern here. So, as you mentioned, the Caitlyn, it seems very likely that gets locked in.
Yeah, they basically have to take it here, otherwise SKT can steal it away. So I think this is really smart, and I think some missed opportunities from SKT with their very first bans here. It's not exactly the key picks for G2 they're removing. I think Caitlyn has definitely been higher priority for G2 Esports.
Thing is, SKT in a lot of their best-of-5s do kind of feel out the other team in the first game of the series, and that's why oftentimes the first game is a lot closer. This one definitely being a little bit more open. I love that Perks continues to hover the option.
Of course, of course. Maybe we'll see it, who knows. Zyra, obviously, for Wolf, it was banned by G2 so often. Tahm Kench is the melee support answer to her, because you can deal with the plants, but you still will struggle a bit in the laning phase.
Yeah, I'm always concerned when I see that, right? Because it is that reactionary, oh yes, you can Tahm Kench eat someone out of the Ashe arrow, but the kill pressure of the Ashe Zyra Rain is so intense that you have to worry about the early stages of the game. Even for a scaling protect the AD carry comp, SKT could blow the bottom lane wide open.
Definitely true. Now, Faker likes to blind pick his Orianna on blue side, which would allow Perks to get a last pick against it, a counter pick. And if G2 wants to keep going full late game, then there are quite a lot of mage options you can pick against it. I know Perks personally talks about like Azir as a champion that we maybe could see.
Yeah, and I definitely expect G2 to save their last pick for their mid lane and just expect on another kind of semi-supportive tankish top laner.
Just give us Galio.
Exactly.
I mean, oh, actually, Galio is a little bit of a risk versus Huni because he has already shown his Fiora, and that is the counter matchup to Galio. So needs to be careful if he wants to play that one.
Well, the Fizz ban makes me think maybe there's a Rumble coming in here because they do have a tank and a half, a tank in the support role and a half tank in this jungle position. You can go for a damage-oriented top laner. Picking Rumble blind against Huni is certainly a risk, but the comp at least fits.
And I would be worried about picking, you know, a losing top lane that's going to get pushed in and would lose teleport pressure. Because like I said, I really do, as far as his opening is concerned, expect SKT, you know, to play off of that bottom triangle of the map. one of the big things that we've seen in this tournament is pushing lanes at level 1 have been very important in jungling pathing, and Ivern is actually exploitable as far as counter jungling early on if your entire team is in on the plan for the first 5 minutes.
With the Rumble here, we might just see Gragas come in from Huni as an answer to it. It's not like a counter matchup. Oh, Galio can be another one. Like one of these two tanks, Gragas or Galio, to just farm against the Rumble and then be just a massive frontline in team fights. Orianna was actually banned away by SKT, so they didn't want to blind pick it, and it is the Cassiopeia we saw in the semifinal from Faker.
And this SKT lineup will not lack for damage in the late game. This is definitely a very secure lineup here for SKT as Faker locks in the blind pick Cassiopeia here.
But it's not really that risky because Orianna is already banned, and that is typically the mid laner people want to play against Cassiopeia.
So it is gonna end up being Jace into the mid lane for Perkz, and of course they have magic damage on the roster thanks to the Rumble top. So unlocked to play physical damage mid, and looks like a fair bit of early lane pressure here for the G2 lineup.
Definitely true, but I also think SKT actually runs quite a lot of early game, like very strong bot lane, and of course Cassiopeia's early laning is good as well.
And I do expect SKT to try and play off that bottom triangle of the map here with Peanut as far as the early pathing is going. Another thing you can do is force the enemy jungler into a path. We often see Peanut going for those invades and then having the team protect his own quadrant from a counter invade.
See, the laners can do that, of course, as time ticks down. No more thoughts to be had here in this one. G2 have relied pretty heavily on Perkz and Sven to have standout performances to carry them into these ones. SK Telecom T1, though, 10 out of 10 in every role.
Yeah, and you are going to have a lot of pressure on your shoulders for all of the carry roles on G2 because there's a tremendous amount of crowd control in the SKT lineup. Far more than G2 are working with, so the barrier of execution much higher.
And it's not even just 1v1, 2v2 in the lanes. You have to deal with a Lee Sin jungle from Peanut. He can obviously be extremely active in the early game in terms of ganking. Trick would prefer a more slower early game, but I'm not sure SKT will give him that.
We've seen some incredible games out of SKT, and especially out of Peanut. There was the famous, what was it, 14-15 kill game earlier on when they played against the Marines. And here we have the lineups on your screen to get ready to go into Game 1 of the MSI 2017 final. G2 Esports representing the European LCS. A top 2 finish already satisfies a lot of their fans, but the players are always hungry for more. And meanwhile, the team everyone expects to be and remain the most dominant, SK Telecom T1, hailing from South Korea, 3-time world champions, defending MSI champions. It's almost something they haven't done
just keep
here.
Keep going down that list. They even won All-Star. They won it all.
SKT have won almost every tournament on the planet, and they are here to take MSI #2 as we head into the first game.
All right, let's see if they actually do try and get some of these early wards down to set up one of those invades and force Ivern into that cross-map jungling pattern here. That will reduce the efficiency of him.
30 seconds until
Quite some surprises, I feel like, from their second phase of this pick and ban, especially from G2's side with the Jace. It's not been a pick Perkz has shown a lot lately. He's a former Jace main, all the way back at Challenge as well, before he even qualified for the LCS. He was like a one-trick Jace almost. So it's definitely a champion he's so used to playing, but it is still difficult to execute Jace in this current meta. We've seen it a few times this tournament. Very often it's a good start, but then lackluster late game.
And the other thing, when you are Perkz trying to come up with a counter pick for Faker's, Cassiopeia, it's very difficult because you also have to incorporate Peanut's Lee Sin and the early pressure that it could bring into this matchup. That plays into your mind when you're trying to take any of the early trades with Faker.
I actually just think G2 got a bit surprised with the mid lane bans coming from SKT. The fact that SKT banned Orianna, which is the most played champion for Faker and his normal blind pick, kind of caught them off guard a little bit because it allowed that Cassiopeia to be locked in.
And here are those early wards that we're talking about from G2 or from SKT to see where G2's early jungle pathing is starting. They had invades from both the Ashe and the Galio here to fully track Trick's start to this one, so Peanut can actually counter.
As Deficio sees, and as the screen was up there, Faker has had an insanely good game at Cassiopeia earlier. 67 minions up at 15 minutes. Perkz hoping to not have happened to him what happened to Maple.
Yeah, that almost never happens. It should actually never happen again, having that massive lead at 15 minutes against Maple. And not the same start here where, you can see Perkz already picked up some CS. Mabel didn't have any CS at 2-3 minutes.
This is a bit interesting because Peanut, of course, with the wards saw when Trick channeled, and he knows with level 2 Ivern, it's 37 seconds until that camp matures. So he's got until about 3 minutes into the game to steal if he wants to.
Yeah, and they've clearly seen that this is the common power farming route for Ivern, one of the safer routes. So Trick is just going with his same side, a little bit safer, and Peanut not going in to disrupt any of those channels. Currently, Faker trading nicely with Perks in the mid lane there, though.
Yeah, it was a bad trade from Perks, actually going in for those last hits, and then hit on to Faker. Bot lane, you can already see the Ashe Zyra, of course, is pushing in Tomkin and Caitlyn. That will just keep happening. And Trick on this Ivern here can't really help his lane enough, because they will probably lack damage, and it will buy enough time for SKT to counter gank it.
Yeah, it seems like G2, exactly as Midley was saying, are playing for that calm and steady game here, especially in the opening. They've got double Doran shields coming out, Perks even on the Jace in the mid lane, getting that single target damage reduction.
See Perks afraid to go in for the melee last hits because Faker gets plenty of damage down. Trick reveals himself as in the mid lane, and well, he's already cleared his entire jungle, so we'll see if he can take anything away from Peanut here, who's looking to grab away these Raptors. And Trick knows better than to channel on a camp in front of an enemy jungler. Gonna let Peanut get that one.
Yeah, Peanut obviously has some very good stats on Lee Sin, not only at this tournament, but over his entire career. This tournament, though, specifically, we had that highlight game where he had 15 kills versus the Marines. Expect actually gets the worst end of this trade in top side, though. Yeah,
if you want to learn how to play Galio in lane, just like take this one clip and just watch that entire combo from Huni. How he managed to get the maximum amount of damage on to expect and just not take any damage in return, basically.
Exactly. Trading when your shield is up, incredibly important there for him. One of the things that he did against Hanser as well, when Hanser got the Kennen counter pick into the top lane, yet Huni's still able to come out ahead.
Now we can watch more lanes ahead from SKT. The bot side up 5 minions so far with the push lead as well. Of course, it's what you'd expect with Ashe Zyra, but we'll see as G2 typically relies on Zen a fair bit if he can get out of this lane terribly unscathed. And honestly, the way this bot lane plays out anyway is at level 6, you just burn ultimates and hope they burn a flash and then try again at level 7. SKT happy to wait a while.
Things like Ashe and Varus, they became meta when everyone learned, okay, like level 6 ultis are really, really powerful to make plays on the bottom side to secure this bot lane tower. That obviously after the removal of Bangkok, I think, mid lane.
Here comes a play on a Faker, exhausted. Zon keeps away from the wall, not quick enough to get slow. There's a flash to chase. First blood into Perks.
Oh my goodness! And Perks is able to get the first blood going with Jace. Incredibly good at snowballing.
He felt so confident going for the all-in because Trick was behind him, and as soon as he was on to Faker, he did not let him go.
Ivern makes it so difficult for you to escape any sort of champion in the mid lane with that gap closer because of the shield, because of the sticky Qs there as well.
Top side, yeah, not going to be enough to kill off Huni, but we are seeing some moments of greatness now from G2. You've got a 6-minion lead in the top side as he gets to reset.
And this man, Perks here has been the star for the team at this tournament. Trick is able to get through the very end of that acceleration gate, by the way, to get into range here. And Perks, no hesitation, flashing over blind. Yes, it's a possibility that Peanut could be there, but he sees it in his eyes, the kill on the Faker, and he goes for it.
And of course, and with Trick behind him, he's like confident he can take the 2v2 because Faker, obviously not level 6, no ulti to turn it around. Love the all-in, and you said it, Kobe. Perks has been the best performing member for G2. And now mid lane again!
Oh, the CC is there. There's really no way out. 2-0 for Perks. His lane kingdom is certainly under his control.
Low and steady. Oh, well, it looks like Perks is putting this into overdrive.
Wait, Midley did want an advantage first, and then slow and steady. So right now, Perks, he's getting that advantage for G2 Esports. I like the gank from Trick. No flash from Cassiope here. She's not getting out. What a great start in the mid lane.
It absolutely is. And if you need a way to win the game, getting Perks 2-0 is certainly going to be one of those.
And look at this. Trick as well. He knows there's no flash. Flashes in for the guaranteed slow, and then waits for Faker to try and move around to be able to land his Q. Very nicely played. Repeat focus here. Just seems like G2 are working so much better with Trick, calling him to these areas and focusing.
I actually want to talk about that because I asked G2 yesterday, like, what happened to Trick? Why is he so good right now compared to last week? And they said they had team meetings where they were discussing, you know, trusting each other and what they would like about each other, and it paid off. Perks is in trouble now.
It's in a 1v3. Acceleration Gate buys him some space, but can SKT re-engage on this? Flash glove for Huni.
Expect does have ultimate on Rumble if they need a slow. They don't even need it.
The backup is there, and Huni's teleport turns into nothing. A great escape by Perch. No summoners available, and no summoners used.
Gets Rift Scuttler over to Peanut right now. Faker not feeling too confident in the mid lane after he's been ganked.
Yeah, and deservedly so here. I mean, this is also an Infernal Drake as the first Drake, so this definitely benefits the team getting these early kills, getting this snowballing going. Trick here with the Ivern out as well, looking for the invade. Takes Raptors instead of contesting red.
Yeah, and once again, it's all about trusting in Trick. So when he says, I'm here, I can gank, I can help you, you go for the play because you know he's there with you. And in the group stage, we saw, you know, them hesitate. He would go in alone, he would die. It's not been happening here in the playoffs.
And I think what they need to do, well, they're going to continue to focus Faker. Can he dodge?
Round 3 in the mid lane. Root is there, and Faker pops the barrier. Gonna get knocked back, staying alive a quick second longer, and it doesn't matter. 3-0 for Perks.
So Trick is just camping the mid lane, and Peanut, he's nowhere to be seen. He's just farming and farming and farming. The wards around the mid lane are just not enough for this Cassiopeia.
And those wards should explode for G2. The vision now could be incredibly difficult for SKT to get a handle on, and that would be the first step in setting up that crucial Infernal Drake to continue the snowballing.
Perks did say before the tournament that he wanted Faker to be known as Baby Perks by the end of the MSI. Now Faker's died 3 times, obviously with help from Trick as well. But that's 3 kills to Jace.
But that is still all credit to Trick when Peanut gets his undefeated Lee Sin, the king of early game jungle champions, and it is Trick who is very clearly out-ganking Peanut, a player that, by most people's metrics, is the best jungler in the world, and Trick is outperforming him.
On Ivern versus Lee Sin as well. Incredibly impressive for G to start out this way. Now Perks is also going to be able to benefit from Ivern's double red buff here. Take that one on Jace, so it's not going to get easier for Faker.
Meanwhile, the bot lane has managed to stay even in CS. The tower's taking a little bit of damage, but not too bad for G2. Top lane is now winning in CS as well for Expect, so all the lanes are doing fine.
And the teleport will come up even earlier for G2. They've got the Rumble ultimate ready to go for this Drake. I just continue to set up this Drake, because that Infernal Drake, this is where the game really explodes. Yes, there's a good lead for G2, but as you know, Minty talks about, you have to continue through the mid game and not give up those objectives.
Yeah, what most likely will happen is that G2 makes a power play on the map through mid lane first and then moves Perks to the bottom lane. So there's basically a free dragon that no one can contest.
Can I just shout out the casual turnaround there from Perks, getting the ultimate from Faker on Jace.
Oh, your Infernal Drake is gone now.
Equally casual steal here on the Infernal.
Oh, G2, they're going to be sad about that one. Not having a ward to actually see that the Infernal Drake was attacked.
And some of that is the bot lane pressure from SKT's duo. Trick has been ganking well, but he's only been ganking the mid lane. So Faker's pushed back, but Vang and Wolf continue to provide the safety to Peanut that he needs to take the Drake like that.
Yeah, no matter how many times we bring it up, the objectives, so important for SKT. When you get caught up in getting kills on Faker and the vision starts to explode, SKT never relent though. Peanut, very good, opportunistic steal there on the Drake.
I do want to track how G2 then uses that vision in the river, because it was something we talked a lot about yesterday, where G2 would get an early lead through mid lane and then not really get enough control ward down, so they wouldn't really choke out the enemy. Right now, you can see in the river, there is still some SKT wards and not a lot of control wards from G2. They were just killed. These are the wards remaining. And SKT actually have enough vision to still play around this mid lane with Faker. He can spot the gank now at least.
We'll see if that happens right now. Ivern pretty far behind now in the tri-brush, looking for a ward to kill, and nothing to happen for Trick right now. Mid lane pressure for Perks, though, as Faker has been pushed out of the lane. Looks like he's going to take the recall, and it's recalling right in front of a cannon wave, which will potentially mean a bit of turret pressure, at least some turret damage, as Perks is going to match the recall.
And again, remember that all of these kills are going to him. These are all going to Perkz. So the lead that G2 has to be utilized if they play around Perkz. So they need to create more plays with this Jade.
Yes, exactly. Mid lane pushes in, then Perkz, together with Trick, they can move as a group, and they can go top lane, maybe go for a kill on Hootie. That's the risky one because he's a Galio, or then go bot lane. Squishy members.
Well, speaking of bot lane, though, we actually just saw Bang shoot out as a Tentacruel Eller and hit nothing. No summoners, nothing burned from G2, so that window has closed for a minute and a half.
That's actually a pretty crucial one, because we always caution against, when the Zyra and Ashe are both past level 6 and the kill pressure of those double ultimates. The other thing, though, is that Perkz doesn't even have to roam. Ivern is actually quite good at coming to siege down turrets, and he's chunking down that mid turret. That could just blow the map wide open.
Yeah, definitely an option as well. You see G2 on the top side here. They're trying to set up these control wards so Trick can keep ganking mid. He's coming now. Finding Faker again.
Looking for the play, 2-on-2. Peanut over the wall. Will he join? Not in range for the safeguard, but now a 1v1 Faker versus Trick. Not one that the Ivern typically wins, as Daisy now comes to support the rest of his teammates. Here comes Expect around the back. The knockup turns into Faker. The barrier doesn't even matter. Kill comes through to Expect. Nice pickup there as Wolf joins the fray. It means nothing.
And God is feeding right now before your eyes. 0-4-0 Faker. All the deaths from SKT.
Once a god to a non-believer, Kobe. Perkz, he's going for the kills with Trick, with Expect. Even Minty joins in. Everyone's just going mid to kill Faker right now.
Feasting on bread right now. The body is here for them. Perkz and the rest of G2 Esports up to a 2,000 gold lead, 15 minutes in. And for a team that was struggling with early games in the group stage, struggling with Trick as a player in the group stage, that player in this team has certainly stepped up. The win over WE was a nice upset, but now they are definitively ahead against SKT.
And you need to do this in the first game against SKT in the best of 5. We have casted so many of their big games here. Whenever you take down SKT, or at least you challenge them, it's game 1 where you really have a chance to upset them, because they normally adapt extremely well. Now Faker here, he's not using flash early, could have just gotten out of this fight straight away, but he keeps fighting because he thinks he has enough backup.
And this is the moment where people bring up hubris a lot, especially with players like Faker, where everyone's always talking about he is the best player in the world there. Stays very long, he actually wants to trade back into these heathens that have killed him.
But Trick played that fight so well mechanically. He drew backwards against the ultimate, dodged several obnoxious blasts that would have allowed the E-chain. That's not going to happen, but we still see the bastion of strength for SKT. Looking for first turret in the bot lane. Sven down to 600 health. Redemption from Ivern just to heal him up for a bit longer, but SKT can certainly crack the base down through bot lane.
Yeah, this bot lane here is going as planned for SKT. It's not about getting a kill, it's just take down that tower. Minty's going towards mid lane. Remember here, Faker wasted his flash.
Gonna race.
And the last one, they're going for mid tower.
Yeah, G2 should be able to win this race. They already have the minions there, and first turret gold is crucial in continuing this advantage.
That is incredibly important. There was not much extra time for this one. One more wave, that bot turret likely falls. So impeccable decision-making by G2 to claim first turret gold through Perkz' lane.
Just a great call under pressure. Few seconds before that, Peanut was looking for a dive in the bot lane, and then G2 just turns it around instantly with the time catch ulti.
A bit north, the Wolf down to 500 HP, flashes the wall, and looks like that's going to be enough to sate Perkz' thirst right now. 2,000 gold lead still remains for G2 as they continue to try to keep the pressure.
It is good to see Perkz playing with this confidence to charge down and get that extra summoner burn, but I would much rather see G2 have the confidence of vision. Have the confidence because they have the deep wards to be able to see that there are no members of SKT for backup there.
It must feel so good right now to be Perkz. Going into this game here, everyone is talking about now you're playing against Faker, now it's going to be so hard for you. And then together with Trick, the 2v2, or basically the 2v1, was executed so well by G2, and they pick up so many kills. Like Cassiopeia, when she's behind, is not a massive threat, because it's hard for her to get in range to deal enough damage. And there is enough CC and AoE on G2 to take her down there.
Perkz has definitely emerged as one of the big heroes here, but Expect might be the next one targeted. Can he get away from all of these ults?
SKT looking for their first kill on the board. There's the flash, dodge away some of it. Bang still saving the ultimate. Not going to put it yet onto Expect. am actually a bit shocked. Maybe it was down a few more seconds. I think actually that was the case. Did not have the arrow available, was 90% of the way there.
Now it's up, and they just shot him.
And that's going to be Peanut against the wall. Easy kick in the queue. There's going to be the kill picked off. And the first one in for SKT at 16 minutes.
Can G2 get something on the other side? Seems like it's just Perkz pushing for the tower. It's a Galio. He's hard to dive, and he does offer wave clear.
And I think they should focus on the turret, on the objectives. Try and get the turret down first, because they can retreat over to the neutral objectives like the Cloud Drake, and the outer turret's much more important in setting up those wards that you can now see in the red quadrant.
It's a really good thing, though, for SKT to trade objectives when you're already behind. They're getting a kill top and going to get the tower top as well. So they actually win out on this trade. Maybe even Rift Herald. Even if it goes over to Peanut, it's a small win.
Exactly. And these small wins do stack up. Peanut stole that Infernal Drake. That is something that increases in value over the length of the game. And SKT are not that far behind. They've clawed right back into this one.
And it's just the amazing thing, when a team can fall behind in the mid lane, their mid laner is 0-4, and they're still able to make plays on the side lanes and actually keep this game so even. This is just their play on expect. Once he stays, well, then there's no way out, and he's going to go down.
Really liking that play, how Peanut really maximized the crowd control. Not that Perkz was getting out, but Ash is going to stun, then Zara's going to Ruse, and we'll wait longer and longer and longer until it's finally time to ult into the wall, make sure it all happens. And see that Peanut actually was the one going into the Rift Herald buff. He's the split pusher in a certain extent. Joined in, do a bit more damage on the ganks as Perkz grabs himself a blue buff and of course look at the other.
Yeah, that's what I like to see actually. The old Rift Herald buff, quite good on junglers, helps you clear quicker so that you can then go gank as well and try and help out those lanes. And SKT do need, that surprise factor of Peanut here. Now, the other thing that they have at their command, all this crowd control we mentioned. There's so many sources of CC on SKT's side that G2, even with that early lead, have to be careful. Going for Huni now, though.
Huni very tanky, but it's in a bit of a 3-on-1. Flash over the wall, means it gets followed by Perkz thanks to Root Caller, but it's a very tanky Galley. The rest of the SKT showing up right onto the equalizer now. Peanut gonna be not able to help this one out as Huni falls down. The stun on Perkz, redemption buys the time. Red buff gets stolen, nicely done. G2 a kill in the opposing jungle.
Yeah, really good force there by G2, knowing that Faker is top. This Cassiopeia, no way of joining that fight, so they run him down and are able to slow for the kill here.
Looks like Trick's going to be just fine on this one. G2 continuing to hold on to map control, 1700 the gold lead. It is certainly not stretching. Mithy talked about taking small, safe advantages that cannot be abused. But if you just don't stretch your lead for 40 minutes, you have to feel SKT's late game shot calling will come back to bite you.
Yeah, if you're on G2, you're most likely waiting for Baron to spawn as well and use that as an objective. Faker, he wants some revenge here.
Yeah, and not only the late game shot calling of SKT, but their scaling is quite nice as well. Cassiopeia should be able to catch up as long as he's able to get some farm in him.
I'm actually a little bit surprised that Perkz has gone down to the bottom lane and played on that side when he's already taken the tower, because the last outer turret for G2 here, it's top lane. That's the target for them. They can put Caitlyn up there and use her to try and take it down, but Perkz is your strong member. He's the man you want to play around, so he needs to be in the lane where you actually want to take down the objective.
Very tight timings here, actually. Asher only a few seconds away from being available. You have to imagine that would force a first flash, but thankfully for him, that arrow not available, was used fruitlessly in the last fight. Stays okay for now.
Couple of crucial, team fighting items coming in here for G2 as well. Ivern is the support man for this squad. The Locket plus the Redemption, at 20 minutes is a very big spike if you do get caught up in one of these jungle fights.
Let's see what comes in next. As you mentioned, jungle fights are very good. Faker just now in a power clip with his blue buff. That Baron has, of course, spawned, but looks like G2 are not in a position to fight for it yet.
Yeah, and with this lane assignment from G2, they don't really have any map pressure at the moment. They're just kind of catching waves, despite actually being the one with the very fed mid laner. If they put Perkz top lane, keep the Caitlyn mid, then they still have these 3 winning lanes, or at least lanes where you can put some pressure. Caitlyn can just hold mid and wave clear, and then top lane is where Perkz can push in Faker, and you can actually take that tower.
Yeah, and
he's on his way now.
Even with those advantages, you look at it from SKT's side, and you kind of have to marvel at how the poise of this team. Even being down 4 kills on Faker early on, they are still so close to gold, still have that Infernal Drake, and still are keeping up their side wave pressure. They're the ones actually getting the first pushes on these waves.
Exactly. You just saw that top lane where Perkz has no interest whatsoever in pushing into Faker there. He's 3 kills to 0-4, and he's like, yeah, I will trade minions with you. Maybe we'll meet up again later.
Now, he knows, though, that Tahm Kench can come in and join as well, and suddenly it's multiple members from G2. So Perkz should feel confident that getting the control on the river, this is exactly the setup we wanted to see. We just talked about Perkz near that tower they want to kill. He's the strong member. He's the man that needs to carry them forward.
They do have to watch out for all of the counter crowd control. Galio ult is definitely something that can trap you. Zyra will set him up. They can keep him in the area for a long time. So tempered aggression is what's needed from G2 to try and keep up their advantage.
And they need to make sure they don't just give up the mid lane either. You want to keep that wave in the middle near the river, just push it down so there's no tower down for SKT, and then you can move first with the Tahm Kench ulti.
See if this move can happen right now. G2 have been afraid to pull the trigger on that top lane outer turret. Instead, looks like they're going to play around this Infernal Drake spawning in just 1 minute. They'd love to equalize the advantage that SKT got.
And SKT should make the adaptation to bring Faker down around this area if they have any intention of even, getting vision down there, because otherwise, G2 can force away from him, and he's no way he can join that fight. They are giving up the top turret in exchange for trying to get down to that Drake.
Yeah, as you can see, Huni with the teleport is top side. Perkz did get that down to about a half, so maybe that can be attacked again. Nice stun onto Sven. They'll fight in the mid lane. Here comes the flash follow. Peanut wants to the knockback. It's there. Beautiful execution. Wolf takes down Sven. Will the fight continue? It's a 5v4, and the map Huni is not teleported in. Took down to 1,000.
It looks so easy when SKT sets up a play like that. It's just chaining the CC and the knock-up. Sven didn't even get to flash. He thought he was safe enough. He did not expect so many members to come flying over that wall and just keep him in place. Perfect timing as well. Infernal Drake just about to spawn.
Absolutely beautiful from SKT. They rotate Faker down to the mid lane. They use all of their crowd control in succession, where we kept cautioning against, and now they easily, it seems, are able to rack up the second Infernal Drake. Meanwhile, top lane, though, Mithy has eaten Huni.
Yep, decent damage there on a tank, still has flash, not choosing to use it to get away from the equalizer. Burns it now and jumps over the wall. He should be just fine. Expect, though, actually wants to chase and takes him down. Huni did not flash in time into the mid lane. A kill for Perkz as well, but the chase is on, and Trick might be dropping with this one as well. The slow is there. Should be a quick 2 kills. Can Sven stop any of it as Faker wants him in this one? Double kill quickly for Peanut. Now Mithy on the wrong side of this one. Pops the shield, won't matter. Peanut flashing the chase. Gonna get that one picked up. Bang, next one on the block, but he's gonna survive it and will not go down. SKT smash that fight open.
Bang is insane. Are you kidding me? They're going for Baron after this as well. Sven is up the load man defense.
He knows it's a 1v3. He's got some room to work with. There's no hard CC left available. Just getting us a flash away from that one. The arrow would come back for Bang. And it's still a lot of damage onto this Baron buff right now. Can't zone in, can't get much done as long as fight is up. It's him! Oh! It was a close timer, but Peanut gets it. And SKT now with a commanding lead.
All right, we all saw that one. We all saw that one. This whole thing, though, started when Bang hits the arrow on Sven. It forces then G2 to make a play on top because they can't get Drake, and everyone is now split up. Wolf, no flash, he goes down, but you can see on your minimap, Sven is coming from base, and 2 other guys from G2 coming from top lane.
And look at that, no hesitation from Bang. Flashes right over, absolutely melts G2 here, racks up the kills, and chases off all new coming challengers.
And it's these very quick plays Mithy wanted to avoid. He wanted a calculated plays, but like, okay, now we can set up for Drake, now we go for top tower, and then when an engage happens they don't expect, SKT just turns it on, and it's very quick decisions happening right now at a very high level, and suddenly SKT now sits with Baron buff.
Exactly, and we continue to marvel at the mid-game poise of SKT. No hesitation, complete accuracy in pulling off play after play after play. Now they're the ones with Baron, double Infernal Drakes, and a 3,000 gold lead. Just like that, SK Telecom, complete control of this game.
So Sven in the end used the flash against the Ash arrow. He's sitting right now thinking to himself, why didn't I just flash the first one? Could have avoided this entire thing. But now it happened, and now SKT are going for mid tower.
Looks like there's no chance to defend that one at all. SKT with complete confidence able to keep pushing up to this one. Gold lead already about 4,000. Completely flipping what had happened in the early game. Faker still a KDA below 1. Doesn't matter. It's the team play that's important. SKT have it in spades here. They will stop short of mid lane tier 2 for now. G2 may have run out of steam already.
Well, let's see if they can bounce back. It's not the same like super late game scaling comp we saw in the group stage. It's just Ivan here who's kind of protecting in terms of shields, and then of course Tom Kench with Devour. But no one is really buffing up today. There's no Nuno block for it. It's more on perks than expect as well.
Even then it's a gold deficit. You feel like Cassiopeia is going to outscale the Jace. And even Sven is down about 1,400 gold under Bang right here. So that Ashe is going to take off flying.
And again, I keep bringing up how many tools SKT actually have, how much crowd control. It makes life of these carries on G2 extremely difficult, having to navigate around so many different cooldowns.
And how often we've seen this again, when G2 or whatever team is facing SKT in the first game are getting early advantages. No panic from SKT's side. They didn't manage to outplay them in the mid game and take back that goal lead, and we're still only 27 minutes into the game. Like, it's still early. And now these teams are suddenly not as even as we saw earlier in the game.
The first 22 minutes are up for grabs, but the Nexus almost always belongs to SKT and looking to close out game 1. Eventually, very frequently, very dead. Yeah, goodbye Daisy, sorry. Pushing up Daisies at this point, I guess. Either way though, SKT, though they end the games with both their Barons, have actually stopped with only one turret on this one. Mid-outer was their only grab, so G2 have defended pretty well. And as his Baron times out in just a few more seconds, be back to close to equal footing, 3,500.
Faker no flash.
Yeah, Faker wants his revenge, but he's in a
waiting in the
bit.
flash. Stun hits the tank. Mithy's an okay target for this one. So far, so good. Walks through just a slow on his back. Spec still zoned out by Peanut. Will they go for the play here? Spec now no way out. He has to flash over. Huni wants the top, but the Naga can't quite land it yet, but there's still some decent damage. Will they chase into the corridors? First and a half HP. Disengage for SKT.
Yeah, if SKT had the arrow, still maybe pull the trigger on that. You can see Lee Sin going in for one of the kickbacks, and having the damage reductions of Galio just adds so much, comfort there if you are trying to make that big play. But holding off a bit, gonna farm the map.
Also like all the ninja tab you see on SKT, they know they're getting so much physical damage. Jace's lethality from the Ghost Blade is not going to do a whole lot once you start getting some of these small armor items in. Even Bang just got hit by Shock Blast, but the shield from Lee Sin was actually enough to keep Bang just at full HP.
And let's toggle the vision for a moment here. G2 playing against SKT, they have almost no area of the map they feel comfortable in. It's entirely dark. Their own jungle is dark and full of terrors at the moment, and Perkz wandering through, trying to get some semblance of control back for the team.
Definitely a difficult road ahead for the European LCS's #1 team for 3 splits in a row. G2 Esports finally getting some international success. Honestly performing better than most expectations, but for now, as this game against SKT, it is about their good early game and SKT's mid-game comeback, but this one is still within reach for both squads.
Yeah.
And the Drake spawning now. Let's see, G2 has 1 cloud to their name, but SKT with double Inferno, certainly the better stats right now.
That's the thing, G2 Esports, they can't afford to lose another fight. The next big team fight, they have to win it. And then hopefully get something more. Maybe it's a Baron, maybe it's a few towers. Engage, going wide, but both going in as well.
Only gonna get the knock up on a Minty though. Huni in the front line looking for the tank. Still gonna be a nice taunt on a couple of them. Perkz still waiting in the wings. Can't find a ton of poke though, and Huni too durable to be pushed out of this one. G2 still got the inside track on the mid lane. But will there be much to be stopped for this one? Peanut not gonna go for the play. There's no one around him.
Yeah,
they go.
Almost half of the crowd control missing here for SKT as G2 good evasive maneuvers to avoid the Ashe Arrow, avoid the Flash Zyra, and be able to retreat.
But we can see how little damage they actually deal onto Huni when he jumps in. Sven right now is trying to get, further into this late game. A little baity to see if you can force maybe a flash.
Yeah, maybe flash to devour something like that. It's a nice little play there. Peanut gets nothing for it though. Red buff gonna be grabbed cleanly by Trick, and someone can walk over to get that one a little bit later. I am still a little bit surprised with, as you mentioned, several of the important ultimates being used up by SKT without much purchase, and G2 still say we don't want to fight. Even if half your ults are gone, we're still afraid of SKT.
It's because SK Telecom never blow everything at the same time. The Ashe and Zyra used offensively, Faker's got his trump card. The disengaged Cassiopeia ultimate ready for that G2 aggression, and they don't get baited into it. Now, if you are also able to play, you know, like Perks did earlier in lane and bait out that Cassiopeia ultimate, then you get to check all of the boxes and try and actually then win the DPS fight.
It's also some of the limitation of the G2 comp that, you know, we talked about much earlier, how they had to really get rolling in the early game with the Jace, because playing Jace in the late game is very, very difficult. You're not tanky enough to just jump in hammer form in melee range to the back line. So you have to kind of poke around and then hope someone is out of position. But SKT, when they're the ones engaging, it's hard for Perks to kind of find that one guy he can actually try and dive onto.
Oh, that scaling of the Cassiopeia we talked about is definitely in full effect. He was able to stabilize and farm. He's almost level 18 now and feeling quite confident as they head right back down the mid lane. Gonna let Faker purchase here. Even though G2 have got some important vision around Baron, it's mostly just gonna stall out until SKT move in again. Huni already pushing down bottom to create that cross-map pressure.
Might be the objective here, Freak, for G2 Esports to try and force something. They're actually just starting it straight away.
Uh-oh. They're going to hope for a bad play out of SKT, but they're coming right away, so it's going to be a quick disengage and a quick turnaround to get the fight to happen. Can they get anything to happen? Stunn's going to land on the front line. Peanut now in the front as well. Here comes Huni, a heroic dive in, and a great knock-up as well. The follow-through is in. Look at the damage output. They've already picked up one as expected. Dad and SKT continue to exert the damage output. Mindy's going to be next up soon. Perks will get a trade kill for one, but Trick running out of health, and Sven can't get much down either. Perks going to hope to make a little bit of vengeance on this one, but Huni's still on the chase. Peanut as well. The kill comes in. Triple for the SKT jungler. Bang will be felled. But Sven is next up on the chopping block. He can't get away from this one. Faker hoping to make the kill happen, and he will make it go. 4-2 advantage SKT.
Perks has been able to take out the backline there with the AD carry and support, but SKT 3 members control of the Baron area, and Huni can easily tank it.
That was the best fight possible for Perks, because he was actually left to go towards these squishes here. The problem for Perks is the rest of his team behind him couldn't do anything against this engage with Huni coming down with the Galio. Hit multiple members with the knockup, followed up by the Zyra.
Exactly, the layers of crowd control we see from this composition from SKT utilized effectively there. Perks though, he does get 2 kills back and a turret back for G2. SKT, let's see what they can do with this Baron buff, because they're definitely coming for at least secondary turrets.
It's a red buff on Perks and a top catch.
And Huni's running low on mana, no flash as well. This is likely to be an actual kill picked up onto the SKT's top lane tank. Maybe going to kidnap a little bit longer, but look how long it takes to kill him. Going to go back for the crowd control. The Ashore coming by, not going to land on a much though, and G2 actually just have to disengage. They get nothing for it.
The benefits of building full tank there. Galio, nigh indestructible, as SKT are back out on the offensive.
7,000 gold lead, Baron buff on mid lane. G2 immediately going to drop for this one, and G2 may have to surrender even more of their base. It's already rare form. It took more than one Baron for SKT to win this game, but yeah, they are certainly so far ahead. And you mentioned the scaling before. The Cassiopeia Faker has gone from 0-4-0, picking up 2 kills and 5 assists without a death. Watch this fight again.
Let's try and see how much damage Bang and Faker actually deals here on these carries of G2, because they get in at first with all the knockup, but then the Rumble forces back away, and it's Faker just diving in with Huni and Peanut. Aggressive move from him, so even with Perks killing the bot lane of SKT, because Faker played so aggressive in the fight, SKT had enough damage to take down the back line of G2.
Yeah, and even just trying to count the time there that G2 spent knocked up by SK Telecom crowd control.
They actually walked into that Galio ulti. They could have stepped away from it with at least 4 of the players, but they got hit by it, follow-up CC, and then you all will die.
You can see decent numbers had come out, but look at just down the line. Everyone in SKT actually performing pretty nicely. Peanut, most kills in the game, second most damage of his team in that fight. Second most damage of anyone in that fight, as he did out-damage Sven and Perks. And the Lee Sin, though it didn't have quite the same early impact that Trix Ivern did, he's certainly done incredibly well in the mid to late game here, as SKT are actually still taking the time of this one, though. This is a much more tempered game than ones I had seen from SKT earlier on.
And I like the decision here to go AP Zyra and not like the Redemption Locket Zyra, because you are against this comp that wants to like hide with the Ivern, extra shields coming in. Having another damage dealer from your support is actually very smart, especially because you bring some more magic damage to the table. It's Peanut who's gone for the Locket in this game here.
Definitely makes sense. Good, clever, and efficient use of resources. Jungler not required. Faker solos the Elder Dragon. Did not get to play the Elder Dragon team in the finals here. It was G2 who took them down, but Faker gets one anyway.
And now we'll see if SKT actually wants to go for a dive with the Elder Dragon plus Baron combo, or just clean up the outer resources here. Still working on the top lane is Huni with the Galio. Technically, he does have teleport and ultimate available, but SKT on all fronts pushing in.
Mid lane inhibitor gonna fall with one more auto attack. Down it goes. And SKT have cracked the base. 12,000 gold lead. Inhibitor likely to fall as well. Baron buff still on for a few more seconds. SKT managed to use every piece of it and hit falls.
Getting one inhib is so important to put some more pressure in the mid lane without even having any champions there. SKT gets top tower as well. Baron buff is gone now. Still have the Elder Drake buff, so it's hard for G2 to actually fight back.
Not much fighting back has been had by G2 for the last 18 minutes of this game. Once Baron spawned, it felt like they lost direction, and SKT off one good team fight wrested control and just simply never looked back. Wolf chunk to half, perks the entirety of G2's early gold lead, has been unable to carry the game the rest of the way through. SKT's team fighting has been too good. The siege now continues as the Elder Dragon buff burns down. Killed quite yet for Pina, but the siege continues the next wave.
Yeah, G2 kind of waiting for someone to step on the traps here so Sven can get some proper damage onto them. But Perks is also busy on the other side, trying to go for Pina, so there's no real target here for G2.
And look at that drop down. Even though, well, it looks like they're going to force some cooldowns out of G2.
G1 to mid, he's going to have to pop. The shield's still low on health, going to get a quick heal to stay alive, but that's someone heal down for Sven.
Even though you feel like SKT have been a bit, slower, a bit more measured than usual, that was a 7,800 gold Baron power play that they had.
They clean up the map now. Bang out of mana. The fight going to come in. Not quite a kill on the Wolf, though. Perks hoping for an opening. Not going to have it, though. Spec low. Mithy as well. The kill comes through for Bang. And another one in the back line as well. 2 for 0. SKT going to close it out right now. Huni flashing out of the Nexus turret, hoping to take them all down, and he will do so. Look at the kills left, right, and center. The ace is completed. No one dead for SKT, and the dominance continues as South Korea's SK Telecom T1 will close out Game 1.
A very, very good start from G2 Esports, picking up kills in the mid lane, getting the advantage. But when they had to then step into the mid game, where Mithy said, we do not want to take any chances, we want to just play slow and steady. They tried, but Sven got arrowed in the mid lane. They lost the Drake, they tried to force a play on top, and suddenly SKT, with much faster shot calling, managed to find fights and kills and then Baron.
This is what I like more than slow and steady, is SKT off of one fight just erase all memories of what an early game lead may have looked like for G2. One single kill on Sven turned into a minute later about 7 more kills and a Baron picked up, and now SKT's 5,000 ahead, and slightly exaggerating, but that's essentially the story of this game.
And you can see what G2, want to do at that midpoint where they have the early lead. They've got Rumble Ultimate available, Ivern Jace for sieging. Yet SKT, so many tools to come up with a counterplay, and they just execute so perfectly with that CC chain. Almost looks like there wasn't counterplay.
I mean, that's again why, Sven didn't flash it, because he thought he was safe enough near his tower with an Ivern next to him. But when you have such a clean setup from SKT and with members just on the same page that almost no other team in the world actually has, well, then you suddenly get something like this.
You get something like this. SK Telecom T1, 2 games away from cementing their MSI title. We'll see if they can do it. But for now, let's check in with our analysts.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. An amazing start to the game for G2, but in typical SK Telecom fashion, they find the fights they need to get the comeback mounted and smash through for a dominating conclusion here to Game 1 of the series.
Yeah, you start Faker off 0-4-0 with a 20 or 30 CS lead, 2 levels above him. Meh. Doesn't matter.
I mean, it's got to be so frustrating playing against them. It's like, what do you have to do to beat these guys? In some of the games, it just feels so ridiculous. It's like Faker's 0-4, you have a good gold lead, then 27 minutes in, you look up, they have 2 Infernals, they have Baron, and they're up 5K.
And it was just so many. I mean, this was effectively a solo kill to start things up. Sure, there was the assist for the shield, but nothing more. And during that flash being down, there was 2 more visitations, as we're going to see. And again, the laning phase, Perks versus Faker, we were talking about this as being a potential point to attack, and attack they did.
And this pulls two things together, right? We talked about the jungle and Trick needing to step up. He did it yesterday. He's doing it again today. And then to your point, Jack, the only way you can play against Faker is with no fear, and that's how Perkz walked into this matchup today.
But the scary part is, Dash, that they did both. It's two for two in what we expected them to do, and yet the result didn't go their way. And the only thing that wasn't working for them in the early game was the gold lead. It was there, but it was never 5,000. It was never 7,000. It was always touching distance, and you always thought we might be one fight away from this alternative.
I mean, when you consider the fact that 4 kills is relatively worth about 1,000 gold, and that was really the only gold lead that G2 had, it shows how much work SKT is doing on the rest of the map in order to keep themselves within striking distance. And then, as was mentioned, we got to go ahead and push forward to our Acer replay here in Game 1. SKT picking up 4 kills in the mid lane, plus the Baron off of a beautiful engagement.
Yeah, and I think G2's mindset was right for most of this. This is kind of how it started because they expended a lot onto Huni to get this kill in the top lane, but Rumble ultimate down as another fight is happening in the mid lane, which is quite dangerous since SKT plays the overall map so well. Perkz thought he had something here, but Bang had other ideas.
And Bang went man mode here. He went super aggressive, flashing in, reminding me of Prey back at Worlds, getting into the front line, and now everyone's out of position. As you say, a lot of big tools are down for G2.
Yeah, and this is a composition for G2 that has to work as a unit. With the Ivern protecting the Caitlyn, you have pressure coming out, and you have this front line. It all just fell apart so quickly, and the fact that Faker and Peanut were still alive at the end meant they could take an easy Baron.
Yeah, and I think one thing that G2 can take away from this is they did play with fearlessness, but they did not have scaling advantage on SKT from a team composition perspective, because once that fight happened and Baron went over, even then it was about 2,000 gold, but you could feel it was over because they did not have a way of starting fights, they couldn't get through Huni, and they couldn't deal with Faker's damage.
I also just think that Tahm Kench into Zyra is such a punishing lane. Like, that's so hard for G2 to really get an advantage there, and you saw Bang playing very well. I mean, the damage discrepancy, not something you would expect to see this large, and largely in part because they bullied them in lane. They got big XP advantages, and Sven was not that late game threat that you would have hoped for.
I mean, the item timings got there. We saw Sven on Infinity Edge, Hurricane. I could see fights that would be won by G2 where the game was at, but the problem was, both those clips, it was never the 5-man utility ball on top of Caitlyn doing free damage. The game turned on 2 disassociated fights, and then an arrow onto Sven in the mid lane when Tahm Kench wasn't around. So the utility wasn't in place, and it was never the true 5v5 that they drafted for.
Yeah, I mean, that's evident in the fact that Bang tripled Sven's damage there, because he had a frontline Sven not really able to get all those auto attacks out during the fights.
Exactly. G2 didn't draft for a 5v5. SKT drafted for the 5v5. That's with the tank and with the Cassiopeia, and they were punished for it early because G2 punished to siege and get poke off. That's what the Rumble Jace absolutely is. So they never got the siege set up for sure, and then once that happened and you fall behind with that type of composition, you're going to get crushed by SKT, which is generally why I feel like for G2 to have the success against SKT, they have the fearlessness in the early game. They need to win scaling in the draft somehow, because that's how they've found any success in this tournament, is with that scaling composition.
I also think they need some initiative to go along with that, right, within the picks themselves. So we saw a couple times good Tahm Kench ults to get behind somebody and start a small skirmish, get 1 kill. But with that 1 to 2K gold advantage that they sat on for about 10 minutes, we never saw the ability for them to start a fight like SKT could with an Ash Arrow.
And I mean, part of the problem with that was, the Infernal was the obvious point where you would want to create conflict with your gold lead, with your super strong mid laner. Unfortunately, Peanut snuck that away and really kind of denied that first easy objective where they perhaps could have challenged SKT, could have perhaps opened up a larger gold lead or some sort of subsequent advantage.
Right. But this is the challenge of playing against SKT, right? Because we talk about, well, we need them to have scaling. We need to have them the ability to scale.
Everything.
But if you have the ability to scale, it means you're weaker in the early game. And now you've got to have an impressive early game with weaker champions than SKT. So with G2 moving into game 2 here, I mean, I think heads should be held massively high here for that squad, having come out and done what they did already on the Rift. But how do you attack game 2 knowing you had an advantage, knowing you had, kind of that path to victory planned out there and then weren't able to close on it?
I mean, you have to dot the I's and cross the T's. They got 3 kills in the mid lane, but we never saw them invading, taking out control wards. The next step wasn't there, and it needs to be step 1, step 2, step 3 to get the action done against SKT. And making that adaptation in one game is going to be hard, but it's what you have to do to beat SKT.
I liked the confidence that G2 played with, and they need to build on that. But we obviously got to see who they are playing against. SKT is who we thought they were, and they dominated at the end of that game.
Mithy said, you can't make errors against this team. You can't even afford to trade against them, because if they stay within, a certain amount of goal differential, then they will strike back. Now, SK Telecom have started out the series with a win. We'll see if G2 can regroup and tie up the series after the break.
Senhoras e senhores, deem boas-vindas aos finalistas do Mid-Season Invitational 2017.
Mid lane.
Here comes the play into Faker, exhausted. Zon keeps away from the wall, not quick to get the slow. There's a flash to chase. First blood into Perks.
Oh my goodness.
And now mid lane again.
Oh, the CC is there. There's really no way out. 2-0 for Perks, his lane kingdom.
But no, my wall is actually Sarah and Lee are both side, okay? That.
Nice!
And God is feeding right now before your eyes.
Now it's up, and they just shot him.
And that's going to be repeated against the wall. Easy kick into Q. There's going to be the kill picked off. The first one in for SKT. It's here. Around the back. The knockup turns into Faker. The barrier doesn't even matter. Kill comes through to expect.
Now it's up, and they just shot him.
And that's going to be repeated against the wall. Easy kick into Q. There's going to be the kill picked off. The first one in for SKT. Peanut flash in the chase. Going to get that one picked up. Ben next one to the block, but he's going to survive it. Mooney flashing out of the Nexus is hoping to take them all down, and he will do so. Look at the kills left, right, and center. The ace is completed. No one dead for SKT, and the dominance continues. The finals of the 2017 Mid-Season Invitational. We're defending champions SK Telecom T1 are up 1-0 over the European LCS's G2 Esports in this best of 5. G2, their time to choose side. They chose blue. Yeah. And I want to point out, before we get into the game, G2, every best of 5 they've ever played, they have won 3-1, so they've got SKT right where they want them.
Exactly, and this is actually the plan for G2 Esports. Drop that first game,
classic.
Take the next 3. I think it's a good plan as well they came in with here. And also they tried to tilt Faker in the start. Sadly, there's 4 other players on SKT, and they're all very, very good.
Yeah, and the problem is, historically, SKT in best of 5s, the first game has looked close or even been a loss, and then it gets progressively worse and worse for their opponents.
It does, and we might see SKT come out swinging here in game 2, where the first one had looked good for the first 23-ish minutes. It was a gold lead since level 3 for G2 Esports, but Faker...
Funded by him.
Yeah, funded by Faker. He decided to give out some extra gold. He's won so much, he decided to share the wealth a little bit here, but I think it's go time. And again, SKT, when you come back from a deficit like that, imagine a game where you don't get behind early game. And
of course.
SKT, you're still, of course, the best team in the world.
Yeah, that's always the thing. It's really hard to consistently get early advantages against SKT. I think one of the strategies we have seen work for other teams is like you run on these pick comps where you get the early lead, you just keep forcing like picks left and right, and you never really get into late game team fights. But obviously the comp here from G2 kind of had to wait for Baron to spawn, had to use the Baron as well. And once Baron spawned and then tried to make some plays on the top side, that's where it kind of went wrong, that one team fight. Multiple members died and everything fell apart. I like the early strategy though, like Cassiopeia, you can camper, they can try and do the same.
Yeah, I mean, it's so difficult because we all are talking about trying to attack SKT in draft phase. And, you know, even Coma has stumbled a couple times in draft phase for those guys. But you never look at SKT and say, oh, they need X champion to win the game. They don't, you know, the bans just don't feel quite as effective when the champion pools for every single one of their players is so diverse, and they actually have the strategy to execute so many different styles of team comps. It's hard to, you know, put them into a hole.
Absolutely agree. So we'll see what this one looks like here as game 2 has begun with the picks and bans. Again, we have swapped sides. We'll see what that means here as the Fizz ban comes out at the very beginning for G2 Esports.
Yeah, Fizz is a A champion you don't really want to give over early because it is a flex pick. It's so hard to kind of draft against it, and we have seen SKT take it in that first phase for either Huni or Faker. Lulu Karma bans from SKT has become a fairly easy prediction.
Yeah, I mean, especially the Fizz. I just want to reiterate your point there, especially against Huni and Faker. Like, extremely scary assassin players that, you know, we've already seen Peanuts Lee Sin. G2 didn't actually even manage to kill him in the last game, and he's been undefeated on it for so incredibly long. Still on the board here as well, by the way, as far as the jungle pool goes.
Also, when you ban the Fizz, you can actually early pick Syndra, which has been like one of the best picks for perks. It was banned last game by SKT, also banned against Flash Rules by SKT when they were on blue side. It seems to be open for now. Don't have to first pick it, but then in the next rotation you can grab it.
It's interesting because the Caitlyn ban also screamed to me first pick Ashe, but you're right about the Syndra being out there with Fizz being away. We'll see what G2 go for with Zyra off the table. See what's picked up.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on how confident you are, right? Because Echo's still available. You know, the Assassins can still be played into the Syndra. I like this. Okay, so even though we've been pretty down on Trick's Lee Sin, it seems like a pretty good denial away from Peanut, and Trick has been more and more confident as the tournament has gone on. So I'm definitely, you know, curious to see what we'll get.
I mean, it shows that new trust in Trick as a player. They're saying, you know what, yes, this has been a bad pick for you, but we need to take it away from Peanut. He's the best Lee Sin in the world right now, and we have to just give it to Trick and trust that he can actually play it. I like the counter answer in Tahm Kench for actually two reasons. One is obviously it's good against Lee Sin when it comes to him trying to find picks in the late game, and then two, if G2 wants to run that Syndra in this rotation, then the Tahm Kench is really effective there as well.
SKT going for the complete, you know, mental victory maybe here with the run back, taking the opposite composition G2 ran last game with the Tahm Kench and Ivern picked up to protect Bang.
Yeah, this pick here from Sven is also very smart, because normally when SKT wants to play Twitch, they actually ban away the Kog'Maw, but in this case he is now picked early, so you know, if it is a Twitch coming in from SKT with his late game scaling comp, at least then Sven has a lane matchup he likes.
Exactly. Also then you see the Tahm Kench early, so then you get to prick your Braum into it, and you do threaten those kills.
Be a fun one to watch for, of course. Though it's no Lucian, Kog'Maw is a high attack speed champion, pretty good at chewing through the Braum pass and getting that damage in. And SKT, look what they want to go for, and Ashe will be picked up here at the end.
Suddenly, no Twitch, as we just talked about here. Twitch would have been great with this like protection for him in the late game, almost impossible to then kill him. Ashe is a pick that Bang, of course, has played a lot in the past, but he's actually valued Twitch and Caitlyn above Ashe during this tournament. One is gone, and obviously the pick from Sven kind of blocks the other.
Yeah, I mean, Ashe is also still a bit vulnerable down there. If we do see Trick try and go to that bottom lane, you know, what we did see in success for G2 versus Team WE was a tremendous amount of lane ganks through the side brush from Trick, especially down around bottom lane, as well as setting up 4 counter ganks for aggression.
So we are in a ban phase 2. SKT, of course, first to ban. Shen going away. Lucian still routinely being banned. They are afraid of Faker or maybe even Huni playing the champion. He did say in an interview that Lucian top was still viable.
Or
I'd
Bang.
love to see it.
I love how Lucian's banned and nobody mentions AD carry position.
Because Ashe got picked already.
Ashe mid lane with teleport, fire the arrow from base.
Yeah, we're not in 2009 anymore to Officio, back when he used to be good at League of Legends.
That's a compliment.
That's true. He used to be good at League of Legends. Not all of us used to be.
I'll take it.
So final ban coming through. 2 disengaged tank bans really coming through from SKT. They could also take away the Galio and remove more tanks off that G2 pool if they're trying to protect Sven.
Yeah, they have so many options now. You know, take the Galio, last pick for Faker, or you can even blind pick Orianna for Faker, and then last pick for Huni if you want to, you know, have a Fiora into maybe G2's Galio.
And I actually really like the bans from SK Telecom. It looks to me like they're setting up Huni for a carry style performance here. Banning out some of those tanks
that's smart.
to negate them. Yeah, exactly. So G2 actually saw the exact same thing here, taking out the Fiora. One of those, but Huni has a vast array of carry champions that he can play from the top side, and Rumble is also still available, which would be a very good complement to the setup.
But this also means now that Huni can just take the Galio blind, because the one counter pick you're kind of afraid of is now gone. But I think G2's okay with this to not get trapped into feeling they have to maybe grab it and get counter picked by Fiora. Rumble can come in from Expect, or you can just run Nautilus. If you want to tank top, Nautilus is gonna be okay despite him being a weaker overall champion.
They're absolutely viable, and even as we keep seeing tanks in this top lane role here for SKT, if you look at the last game, Bang did the most damage by a long shot, tripled the damage up what the Sven had. We know that he can definitely be enough damage to carry. And Gangplank into the top lane it is for Expect with a Syndra in the mid.
I was going to say, Deficio, you know, Gangplank is one of the champions Expect loves so much, and he's so confident on that champion. You know, armor penetration into Galio, trying to farm up there, just use his ultimate for the early stages.
So Echo Orianna here would be two picks that makes a lot of sense. Orianna is the safe one, Echo is the counter one. This is a risky one that I know a lot of European mid laners love to see when you already have Syndra. But I know also other mid laners feel like Ahri can win this matchup after level 6.
This is one of my favorite ones, right? Because it so much involves the sidestepping. The early sidesteps are so crucial in the trades with these two champions. So often I will see Syndra get the advantage because you get to start out with the W and be able to set up the successive damage, but you know, after the first recall, then I feel like Ahri does bring a lot more threat. And once she gets to that level 6, once she does have possibility of comboing.
It's fun with also Expects Gangplank, as you talked about here. We've seen it in the past. Mixed success overall. There have been games where he barely had an impact because he would fall a bit behind early, lose his tower. It would take a lot of time before he really did anything. And then other games where he had a good laning phase and his ulti was impactful for the bottom lane. He needs to have one of those really good games on this Gangplank.
He does, and Expect has been one of the great stories here at the tournament for G2 as well. You know, the team with a lot of confidence in him, and we heard his communication so decisive. They really are behind him, and they do trust him in the role.
That's going to be his 5th Gangplank game of the year here. 2-2 on it, leading into the Mid-Season Invitational, and going to bring it back out now against SK Telecom T1. The trophy again on the line here. Best of 5. We will not crown a champion yet with this game, but we know SKT can get within scratching distance, and G2 Esports, if they want it, need them out to come back at some point, and why not as soon as game 2 here. Lineups on your screen, the champions over their heads, and we will see how this one pans out. SK Telecom T1 defending their title here at the Mid-Season Invitational. Very dominant in the knockout stage last year in here. We'll see if they can do the same as we head into game 2. G2 in blue, representing the European LCS, and SK Telecom T1 from Korea in red.
All right, so once again, in the Lee Sin versus Ivern matchup, I want to see if G2 will try and play a bit more aggressive as far as the setup is concerned. They do have a Braum, very good at level 1s, you know, trying to push in for some of that vision to track Peanut.
Yeah, and they also have the early push in mid to again give it a little bit more assistance if Trick invades. Faker has been caught here before against G2. He's still sitting there. He's not spotting him.
And Braum Q's going to land so slow. They shouldn't flash for autos. Exhaust buys a bit more time, and Exhaust for Flash is a worthy trade.
So now, once again, that setup around the jungle is going to be even better for G2 because now Faker has to be very careful if he wants to leave his lane against Lee Sin and Syndra early on with no flash on Ahri.
See if this game's going to happen. We knew it worked out in game 1, and right now we just have the battle lines. Huni kind of ensuring that no one does anything spacey in his side of the map, and he's already gotten a deep ward himself. Track what Trick wants to start at. Now, Peanut has had very awkward Ivern games earlier this tournament. We'll see if it's cleaned up here.
I have to say, though, you know, that even though you talk about, oh, yes, it was the exhaust in bottom lane, less value than the flash for mid lane, as far as the summoner trade goes, that's definitely true, but G2 never got the deep ward. And if you don't disrupt Ivern early as a team with the early invade to get the vision and at least even track him, then it becomes a real guessing game for Trick, and he does have to worry about Peanut actually playing it more offensively. You're right, though, typically so far, Peanut in his Ivern games has played much more defensive Ivern routes for his own clear on his own sides.
See what happens. Reversed matchup from the prior game in the jungle. Trick did get the better of it last game. We'll see if he can do that again. Looks for the mid lane right away. Ward hops in. Bit of damage in a Faker, but there's no hard CC to be had, so it just burns the exhaust, but that's not bad.
And this, again, is one of the changes we saw compared to G2 last week. Trick is much more active early on in trying to gank. Now, this is obviously because Faker has no flash. Trick is like, I can take my red buff, I can just path through mid towards my blue side anyway and try and get an early first blood, but he's been so active in the early game. Force the exhaust now. So Faker, no summoners in the mid lane.
And Peanut actually just channeling both the camps on both sides here, so he should be able to get off to a pretty good early start and should have an experienced lead and keep that lead over Trick due to the visit early on mid lane.
That's the execution. See that can happen here down to the bottom lane. Quick push lead here for SK Telecom T1. Not matched exactly perfectly, but a nice Q into the damage output. One more shot will stun Wolf. Good chunk there. But down exhaust for the next minute means Mithy cannot really opt into any all-ins. Pretty equal CS, pretty all right right now.
Yeah, and some counter picks from G2 in this game here, without it being like, you know, hard counters that will just destroy the laning phase. Braum against Tom Kench is simply because Braum in the late game is such a powerful champion and he gets kind of free laning phase. Top lane.
Gonna be a bit of a rough road for Expect right now. Forced to run away, takes a little bit of damage, flashes the wall, and he's got some time to go with. The Lee Sin's coming right behind him. Can they make a gank happen out of it? Should be outside of ward range.
Trying to bait right now.
This is the cue. They're going to go in now for the Ivern. Look at the damage output. Expect down to 100 HP. Knockup blocked by Trick, and he's going to stay alive so far. Peanut down to 200 HP. Puts the shield back on. Expect one hit away from dead. Gets the shield yet again. Trick back in. One more kill. He'll do it. First blood in for G2 yet again. Trick continues to be the miracle worker. As Huni is out of mana, nothing else to do over there.
Risky 2v2 fight, but now in the bottom lane.
It's an early heal forced out of Bang on this one. Sven takes the exhaust, and that's a 2 summoner burn off that all in. Mithy going to be okay, and the passive fell off, so Sven couldn't stun up Bang. That could have been a very bad trade for G2.
Sven kept the heal here. Mithy kept the exhaust. Mid lane Faker without those summoners. He's struggling at the moment. He's fine though, but he's not getting any CS.
But this is such a crucially different early game where it's actually all the side lanes winning, not just in the mid lane. But now there's not that extra lane pressure of the impending turret falling for G2.
Yeah, that 2v2 skirmish was so huge for Expect and Trick, the duo lane that stepped up coming into the semifinal.
Exactly. This is Ivern Galio. You know, it's a tank and a supportive jungler.
Never mind. Ooh, and they force another summoner out, so the only thing left is Bang's flash. The rest are down. Gank forcing a summoner doesn't always mean a lot. The intrinsic value is not quite there, but Trick gets another gank off to some degree of success.
Yeah, second game now with a very active Trick, where G2 are getting early advantages. Like Faker is once again just getting targeted. Perks has cleanse, used it straight away. But level 3 Faker at the moment, he will get level 4 from this wave.
And Expect thinks he can chase this one down. He's only a couple of hundred HP away from getting his kills. Got to watch out for the brush damage. One more Q, one more auto kills him. The auto attack not going to be enough for Huni, and Expect finds himself a solo kill.
That was dang close with the extra damage from the minions, but Expect confidence. He loves the gangplank, and the team trusts him.
And yet again, Mithy in the front lines. They're going to stun up Wolf. Plenty of damage here to be had. Armor shredded off as well, down to 300 HP. Make that 200 the flash, but the W turned off. No Bio Arcane barrage to be had. The flash follow. The kill on the Wolf should be there. Now how about the counterattack? The gank is in for Peanut. 1 point of Ben still low. He's been slowed. He was already stunned. And that's going to be the double kill in for Sven. Everything they need.
Single lane winning right now for G2 Esports. Bottom lane with aggressive plays. Trick with the 1v1. And mid lane, it's just a CS advantage, but it's still good enough.
And this is actually more worrisome for SKT than the previous game. G2 have quite a bit of scaling on their side, and Trick with full confidence on this Lee Sin now. Let's see if they can actually do what they did not do last game, which is snowball, transition with their vision into SKT's jungle, so that they can actually counteract the moves SKT set up.
And remember last game, it was hard for G2.
Oh, solo kill in the mid lane. The XP advantage pays off. Trick's out of range for the exhaust, and the ult jumps him down.
Shows the EULCS logo as well from Perks here. Feeling confident. 2 games in a row, he's getting early kills.
And you talk about dominant game 2s. Faker versus Maple in the Caspia LeBlanc was a farm lead. Perks has now killed his opponent with this one. It's a more dominant game 2 than Faker had in the Cassiopeia.
Absolutely blasting Faker here. Another game. And let's take a look at how he set that up. Still had the spear on the ground, and Faker gets hit with the stun. It's a 2-level advantage at the time that he goes for it.
Flash ult is everything.
Not using flash on the Q from Perks, and then he goes down. Maybe actually wasn't available just when it happened.
Well, he definitely denied a tremendous amount of CS with that kill as well. That was a double stacked minion wave.
Flash definitely would have been up. Q's going to land. Can he find the play? Not going to come in for this one because Peanut was there to backfill the lane. Faker still without an ultimate just yet.
Trying to force another flash right there from him. He's under pressure in this mid lane. Perks, you see the numbers on your screen right now. #1 in so many things. Ranking among these mid laners.
Legend in the making here. Perks in the mid lane. Kicks Faker out of his kingdom and then kills him in it.
Starts level 1. Faker standing there in the brush. Done it multiple times this tournament, a bit punished for it. Loses flash. Then exhaust goes down to a level 2 gank from Trick. and then Perkz gets level 6 earlier and forces that kill.
Faker, the unkillable Demon King. Apparently it's a battle of different countries at this point, as Perkz is the kingdom of his mid lane in this one, and so far so good for G2 Esports. A better looking early game than the first one.
And as I tried to say before, Perkz interrupted me so rudely by solo killing Faker. G2 has much better late game now compared to last game, where it was very hard for them to execute fights with the Jace. Like, you have fantastic scaling on Sven and Expect in a game like this.
And this actually turns into Drake control as well. The fact that Mid-V has set up so many of these plays in the bot lane means those solo Drake steals from Peanut are not available this time around.
The key that we were looking for, they failed last time to snowball off the early kills with the vision around Dragon. Huni actually might be walking down for a lot of pings in mid lane.
Looking for it on a Perkz. Good exhaust to block some of the damage. No stun to be had as well. Faker walked the right way for it. A knock back to buy a bit more time, and Trick going to keep his mid laner safe. Perkz down the cleanse. The flash Q doesn't do anything. Huni, I don't know what that was. His NALCS days showing maybe that was a misplay.
That was definitely a misplay from Huni. I like the disengage from G2 instantly. Faker had to use both exhaust and ulti. Cleanse down here from Perkz, and that's again the Cinder without flash. So good call from SKT to try and make a play around him, but the execution lacked right there. They lost the flash now.
And it may be that poise is starting to crack a little bit here for SKT, as we've seen a decent amount of errors from their members. Last game, it did not amount to much because all the rest of the members of SKT were able to step up in Faker's place as he was heavily camped early. But now, who is going to step up for SKT to regain control of this game?
It needs to be just the mid-game shot calling for them as a team, like we saw in the last one, where they were able to find some of these openings against G2 despite being down gold.
And they do have somewhat of a comp for it. Hard CC exists on every champion on this lineup for SKT. We've seen what they can do with a single Ashe arrow before. They certainly can do it again here.
A lot more damage and a lot more defenses actually even from G2 with the Braum. As you said, Deficio brings a tremendous amount to those team fights. Even though G2 don't have that frontline tank to match up toe-to-toe with Galio, Unbreakable can go a very long way stifling SKT's composition.
That's the lovely thing about Braum. If he was better in the laning phase, almost every support would just want to play him all the time because his team fighting is so powerful, but you can't blind pick him against all the ranged support. So whenever you see Tahm Kench logged in, you just see the answer. It's just Braum. People just go, yeah, give me Braum straight away. I can survive the laning phase here. I can get into these team fights where I can start shining on this champion. So the support, they love this matchup here, even though you don't necessarily bully the lane.
And you mentioned the laning phase. A sub 10-minute Ocean Drake is the best possible laning Drake in the game. You practically can't run out of resources anymore. You can see Faker with his worst MSI laning performance so far. No surprises based on how well Trick and Perkz have played this lane. Trick himself now looking for the play on the bot side of the map. Summoners are available for SKT, but Mithy definitely wants it on this one. Arrow's going to land on Trick. Q still going to land. Goes to the follow. Can't do it now with Wolves eating him up. TP going to come in. TP going to be stopped. And a partial cooldown burn for Huni.
And some important restraint showed there from G2, able to draw out the teleport cooldown without committing any of the ultimates. They still can repeat a play. The Gangplank ultimate is still available for Expect, so he can continue farming on the top side and then even have a bigger impact than Huni on a repeat play towards the bottom.
Faker's on the way top right now. Expect took a bad trade just before. Gangplank is extremely squishy early on, and defensive ult here from Expect to just kill the wave. Trying to just hold this tower.
And credit to Huni for how well he has played this laning phase. He's roamed up his lane more than once now. Partial TP, but he's actually been able to bully Expect. Expect got the counter pick. Yes, we know Gangplank scales, but it is still credit to Huni for winning this one-on-one.
Aside for that solo kill, everything's going great for him.
and that almost gives more credit to him where we know Expect is up gold and Huni is still controlling the lane.
Perkz. Still 2 levels up, by the way, in this mid lane.
Absolutely crushing it. And this has been Perkz' tournament the entire time here. Huge performances from this young player.
He's definitely been the biggest winner during this tournament, kind of redeeming himself as well after Worlds, where he didn't play too well. And then EULs, yes, he's been the most consistent player going into this tournament. And once again, consistency has just been key. Such a high level in every single game. It's very impressive.
You can see now the rest of G2 starting to get pressure as well. The whole team seems to be stepping up and playing to that top level. There's always the possibility of these upsets. If these people play their best tournament, if they play their best day, they can be good enough to dethrone the kings of SK Telecom T1. It's going to require continued excellence. G2 may be on the road, though.
And no mistakes when you have the advantage. Your shot quality needs to just be spot on, because you will get challenged even 5 and 10k gold ahead.
And in order to do that, preparation is key. The Drake is coming up in a minute. Well, mid lane though.
Go for exhaust. Here comes Huni. He's well charmed, buys a little bit of time, but not a ton. Huni in the front lines looking for the taunt now on the Trick. Decent damage onto the jungler, and G2 gonna back off. Help from both the sides and disengage in the mid lane.
We're gonna keep seeing these kind of fights, you know, where Faker dashes into the face of someone, Huni comes in with ulti.
Oh, slow on a Peanut though. Does have flash, can get away if he needs to, and will do so. Jumps up the wall. Daisy comes in to join the fray, and looks like there will be a disengage. Perkz now gets to enjoy the benefits of an Ocean Drake, regenerating his health and mana, as Bang wants the arrow in the mid lane. Can he find the target? Looks for Perkz, not even gonna be close, not yet, but Wolf's coming in, and the Tongue Lash is gonna land. Cleanse, not of course available, gonna flash the charm, stay away.
Gonna force the recall here though. SKT should use that opportunity for preparation, as we said, around the Drake fight. Moving in, they're clearing out vision, double control wards immediately go down, and Wolf gets a little bit of vision onto the ramp.
As we know, SKT happy to fight you with that 3,000 gold deficit. They've made it work before. The question is, when will they choose to go for the play? Trinity Force now done on Gangplank is an important power spike. A little bit of damage on a Huni, but you can see how nearly impervious the damage he is. Despite that.
The goal for Expect is definitely not to solo kill Huni. Again, it's more just to keep farming, and not lose that tower. That's why we saw the defensive ulti from him earlier. It's up again in case there's a fight near this dragon. Huni's TP is also available, so there might be that big 5-on-5 team fight.
Gangplank cannot stop teleports, but at least Huni's ultimate is down. More trades in for Perkz on the mid lane, clearing the waves, and we'll see the Drake is alive. We'll see who makes the play.
Yep, and Trick has already snuck his way in there. Learned a thing or two from Peanut from last game, and looking to take down the second one.
Should have enough time. Wolf coming over, but there's not going to be a chance to get it away. And Trick actually did it without Smite the whole time, and thankfully knew his teammates had the pressure to make it work. So double Drake early pickups, and these are stacking very, very quickly. If G2 keeps the map pressure, they're going to get 4 to 5 Drake buffs this game.
Yeah, next one, Infernal. Very good for them. Getting a bit of everything here in the early game. Need to keep that control in mid so Trick can actually apply pressure. He's near the bottom lane. It is hard to gank the Tahm Kench lane unless you go for the Tahm Kench himself. That is not enough.
Bang sense danger. The ward probably was part of the reason for that one. Ruin King to buy some distance away from Mithy. But still damage on this bot lane outer turret. Down to half right there. Stun at turret range. Mithy's got to jump away. Early redemption popped, and not going to be any damage. Mithy getting away with this one.
Have to be careful here when looking for first turret gold. That is a very big objective, and it's definitely possible. They've done it before where you use first turret gold, the low turret, as bait. Try and draw in the enemy team to overdive. When teleports are ready, communication is key here. Both Huni and Expect have ultimates as well as teleports to be able to affect this bottom side of the map.
And I think what you look for is Perkz' movements. Can he get away from this one? Jukes the charm. Ults in for plenty of damage, and a Faker nearly takes him out, but the rest of the team is joining the fray. And Perkz running out of help on this one. All the damage they need is Peanut and Wolf slowly chasing down. Wolf gets the kill, the second of the game now for SKT.
SKT strike back, targeting Perkz, but what else can they pry open with that? The Infernal Strike is a long ways away. Bottom lane's pretty pushed up here, actually.
Remember, Huni still with TP.
And Expect's got the ultimate already burned to actually use that in the prior fight, but look at this with Huni out of the lane. He ulted in, Expect to go for turret damage. Just can't get enough yet.
And after all the ganks mid lane, you know, Cleanse down, flash down from Perkz as well. It was just a matter of time before they could return and make a play. You got Galio ulti, Tahm Kench ulti, dashes from Ahri. Like, there's so many ways to get on to Perkz. And they get the kill, but he actually forced Faker back to base, which meant they could keep pushing in these side lanes.
Exactly. They took away a lot of the threat. With all those things you mentioned they used in the mid lane. Expect is the next target, though.
Here comes Ivan to join the fray as well. Running out of HP quick. Oranges to pick up to buy a bit more time. The turret will go down to the bot lane. One more shot will do it, and he can't get the attack through. One more hit for Huni. Gets the kill picked up, and revenge is his in the top lane.
Daisy, the MVP with the knock-up here, keeping Huni alive. Svendo got that bot lane tower. And still, this top lane tower as well is extremely low. You can see in your minimap, it's almost down to 10%. Top tower will not fall. And there's still a lot of pressure in the lane from G2. Perkz using Cleanse.
TP used to get away, and looks like Huni learned from his time in the European LCS, pulls the SOAS special, and gets the TP out to stay alive.
All right, TP down then. Some teams would actually argue that is worth more than just getting the kill if you can actually get TP on a full cooldown. So it's not a bad role composed.
Yeah, Expect actually had flash during this as well, but did not want to try to waste it to try and get out of this, allowing them to pick up the kill, saving the summoner spell.
Yeah. It's a tight call. You can flash the Daisy knockup and it'll still go on air quotes cooldown. They won't get the re-hit. So didn't choose to go for it, chose to take the death. And as Perks went to the top lane, he did get that turret finalized. Still all the local gold, sad for Expect, but that is 2 turrets to 0 for G2 here in this one.
Yeah, again, now turret gold, mid lane tower is 50%. If they can get that one down as well without losing a tower, then it's a massive gold advantage for them. They're already 6k up. It should be enough to take control of the map with vision and just strike.
Exactly, a lot of the
strike.
Deficio trying to. Okay, never mind. We won't. That's not for air. Anyways, we have to mention a lot of the gold too with Expect coming from this Gangplank passive, coming from the Cole popping. He specifically 1,500 gold up over Huni as well on this carry champion in the Gangplank. He's scaling very well into this mid game, and it gets very scary here as far as the damage output that G2 can provide.
It's leads absolutely everywhere for G2. Expect does get knocked up by Huni, but you can see these trades get a lot better with the Hexdrinker and Merc Treads done. He's able to withstand so much of this damage now. But there is no member of SKT with more money than their opposition on the map.
We got 2 full items now for Sven as well, so if there is a fight, then he's actually already very strong. They're going now for Expect.
Oh, and a lot of damage onto the Gangplank. Ulti in for the Galio as well. He's going to flash to buy a bit more time. It looks like saving it was the right choice back then. Wolf with the flash into the exhaust. The slows are there. One more hit will get the chomp, and Expect not locked for the world kill. Goes through to Faker.
Yeah, but G2 has to get something else, or Bang actually stayed alive.
They screwed it up. Bang survives the tower dive. Trick wanted him and can't get it. There is still some turret pressure, but that is huge for SKT.
A bit greedy there. G2 on the opposite side. They still will get a mid lane turret trade, so at least they are able to get one outer for the other one, but another death given over. You have to be so worried. They said no mistakes versus SKT.
Yep, that's the kind of play you have to execute. There were 3 guys from SKT trying to kill Expect on top side. And then suddenly Expect gets a kill. Oh, sorry, Bang gets a kill on the bottom side. So Arrow on Trick while he's on the tower, and he can't kick Bang back towards Sven then. Very good flash, and then I guess he just stays alive with the heal.
Yep.
It's so close. That heal and a great arrow from Bang early on.
Yeah, pretty much mechanically perfect right there. Of course, the turret redemption help, but here comes the play. Bang cannot outplay that one. Hexdrinker buys some time, and Perk looks for one more spell. Not going to land this one. Now Wolf is here.
He just did.
He did. The Hexdrinker was the right choice. He survives the one-on-one against Perks.
Perks scared of reinforcements because, once again, the deep vision for G2 doesn't afford them any counter.
But it's a health lead and an Ocean Drake for the region with the Infernal Drake spawning in 3 seconds. Bang, not going to have an easy time being part of this fight. Able to heal up a bit, though, and looks like he will be part of this one for now. Huni now in the fray does have flash. He's also got really a lot of tank stats there, and Minty down to half HP, maybe bit off more than he can shoot. Maybe the rest of the team can re-engage. Huni looks for it, doesn't find it just yet. Here comes the ulti, looking for the dive, looking for the flank, looking for damage on a Perks, and Faker looking to take him out. One more shot, the flash, the auto. It should be a trade kill, but Trick is dead meanwhile. And Minty running away. Faker survives the tower dive. Will there be a re-engage? Bang a bit low at half HP, but only 3 alive versus 5 with SKT. Means they're going to keep going for this.
SKT should stop chasing. They should take the Infernal Drake prize. Incredibly valuable, but they're going to press in on the turret. They want more kills.
4v3 for the kills. Then forced to run. Daisy's letting him out for now. Minty going to buy some time in this one. The respawn's coming in soon. Trick in 10 seconds. Huni wants the front line. Can't quite get it there. One hit away for Daisy falling. Here's the Gangplank ulti as Expect joins the fray. Zen cutting back nicely enough. Huni healed back up with redemption. Expect now under the turret. One attack in for Bang. Minion wave now to take the aggro. Nice explosive cast.
Bang is tanking.
Doesn't mean a ton. Bang is taking. The slows are there. The shield. Minty saving the team for now, and Huni should be next up, but he's able to buy a bit more time. 2 more shots will do it. Kill goes through to Sven. Will there be a chase?
And what is going on? When have you seen SK Telecom continue a dive rather than taking an Infernal Drake that is theirs?
Well, Faker's on his way down with ulti in case G2 pushes up. Sven is very far forward. Faker, he's spotted by Trick.
Jump in for Trick, doesn't have flash, has the Q, though. Look at the get back, and he's right in the face of Expect. Absolutely beautiful from Trick, and the Drake goes to G2.
I was about to say this game won all over again, but now more fighting.
And Wolf's going to be fast enough to get away. Stun's not going to land either, so it will be the break in the action. But a 4,000 gold lead and a 3 Drake lead for G2.
It almost looked like game 1 again, where G2 in the mid game, where they lose one of these scrappy fights, and suddenly Drake will be gone and towers. But then SKT just overdive it.
So much greed there, and G2 outplay under the turrets defensively. Expect landing key slows, Bang gets turret aggro, and they're able to live, not only live, but get the return kill there onto Huni and the Infernal Drake prize.
We'll see if G2 can keep up the pressure. At 20 minutes, it was a lot closer than the previous one. G2 have actually been able to hold on to Drake control this time, and we will see.
Yeah, just the fact that G2 actually managed to bounce back right now and get kills and Infernal Drake is so huge for them. Because they were probably getting the flashbacks as well, like, oh no, we made a wrong call. It's all falling apart. But then with the kills, 4K gold lead, Infernal Drake, that's huge for them. It's Baron you're looking at now as the next potential setup to force a fight. A lot of flashes down on the side of SKT there. A lot of targets you can go for.
There's still some wards though, and especially that one in the brush makes it very hard to sweep. Mithy hoping to look for it. I think he might have spotted it with a sweeper. He wants that bot lane dive again first.
Really well played by Expect here, staying alive for such a long time. Mithy comes in with the block as well.
Exactly, the Braum denying so much of that damage, and Mooney gets killed on the way out there by Sven. More money over to the Kog'Maw then. Trick knows that there are no summoners on Faker after he just killed Perks, goes in, takes advantage.
We head back to the mid lane. It was just the teams fighting over vision control a little bit right now, and as I check the toggles, G2 have a couple of wards in the inventory and a couple of wards in the jungle, but SKT have the division themselves around this Baron pit. Quick blue goes back over to Faker, who has done an amazing job of coming back in a game where he gets solo killed when he's down 2 levels, and he's still actually a force in this game.
Much like the last game, where he was one of the guys diving into the backline of G2, despite being down 0-4 early on. SKT here are killing this one ward. They are actually spotted by G2.
So now the Wolf, can they get the follow through is the question. Knockup's gonna come through thanks to Mithy, but they will not chase through the jungle. G2 still a bit reserved, but that is 2 ultis down.
Yeah, and a very critical flash. Flash on Tahm Kench is like a saving grace for other members on the team as well. I really do, prize that summoner fairly highly. SKT trying to get back some defensive vision around the Baron though. G2 have the upper hand in that area.
Yeah, but now because G2 had the opening and used it, to try and get a flash and maybe a kill, they have to then step away and actually allow SKT back into that river to kill the wards. Like professional teams will always kind of trade. Okay, now it's my turn to make a play. Okay, I didn't succeed, so now it's your turn. It's very rare. You just constantly have the control, and then you basically already won the game. So SKT now got their chance. After they forced some ultis out of G2, they bought a bit of time with the vision, but G2 can go right back in and set up their control wards.
And the crowd is deafening in here as they see a team with the lead over SKT past 25 minutes. Will G2 be able to close in past secondary turrets though? Trying to fight that vision war. As you said, Deficio, there's a bit of ebb and flow, and it's now G2's turn to move in, but Perks almost gets killed by Faker.
Narrowly survives the one-on-one in a lane. He was smashing. Faker certainly doing well in what Arrow can be put to the counter pick. Sven Stein, he's got to get the rest of the team to buy some time, and they have done so. Trick gonna lose life for the cause, but gets away with the ward hop. G2 staying alive, SKT on the chase.
Trick with the body block there, able to save Sven by taking that and escape. Remember, huge chunks of health were taken out though, and SK Telecom now should be able to get those, vision coverage back.
And it's the crazy thing. Despite SKT being down all game long, you still feel like they're somewhat in control and able to force plays like this. Because they look for these small openings where you make a small mistake in your position and then they engage onto you. Trick here saves his AD carry, or at least tries to save his AD carry. Takes the charm for him. Another fight now.
There's Wolf CC'd up a little bit.
No
Knock'em is there. This time they can kick him back, and they bring Faker with them. They've got the front line of Kite to fight to see what they can kill. Wolf is down. Faker forced to run away. He's alive so far. Ulti used to dash away. 2-man knockup. Trick is low. Bang on the wings though. Here comes the shield. 1 kill, 2 kill, make it 3, but it's right back for Bang. Expect wants back, and he gets him a double kill for the gameplay. Now the chase on Ahuni. Can he pick him off? Revenge for leaving the European LCS. He's running away to stay alive. 1 more shot, 2 more will do it. And that's the kill picked up for Sven. A huge team fight for G2.
4 members down, and G2 can take the Baron up here to actually actually get some objectives. Now they're going to rotate over. Expect coming in, and they've got a lot of time.
4 versus 1, but Smite is available. Peanut can Q, jump over the wall, and land the Smite afterwards. Can they zone him out?
Well, Perks should just stay on this side here so he can actually try and force Peanut away. Trick is on his way with Smite.
So much damage and the vision coverage here. G2 should be able to take this in time.
Perks looking for him, spots him out. There's no flash. He can't get him the wall. No chance of a steal. Wolf not in range either, and that is a huge Baron pickup for G2 Esports.
And we said earlier, G2 Esports scaling is much better in this game here, especially with the gangplank from Expect. And he's able to get quite some damage off in this fight here. Wolf, without that flash that was forced earlier, gets kicked back in, has Faker in his belly, and Bang is not even in the fight yet.
Exactly, they're crucially able to take down Daisy very early as well to get him out. Expect on Gangplank, so much damage output, by the way, in this team fight. Kills Faker, flashes in, takes down Bang, chases off the rest of the team. I mean, this guy is an absolute monster.
The last few shots is all they really need at this point. Blow up the barrel for the slow, guarantee that Sven lands.
The living artillery, and that is excitement on the face of a man
who knows he is beating the #1 team in the world right now. G2 hoping to steal that title away as Drake's #4 is picked up cleanly. And it will be just barely, I believe, Elder Dragon the next one.
Yeah, they've gotten all the Drakes. Only lost 2 towers against SKT in this game here. They are looking so strong. GA on Trick is huge, allows them to dive in and actually buy even more time now for Sven, who is extremely fed. Like, the Rage Blade is completed for him, and also the Gangplank.
And that's the key, right? You have so many damage threats in this G2 lineup now. This is a fed Gangplank. He's level 16 now with this ultimate. And Sven on Kog'Maw firing away from the back line.
Going for the high damage build as well. Rage Blade third puts you in an incredible place damage-wise. Bot lane 2-2 gonna fall immediately. Here's the knockback for Trick. Gonna trade with Bang. And Guardian Angel's an easy trade to go for the bot laner's dead. Huge knockup out of Hootie. Wolf for the front lines as well. Let's see what they can pick up for this one. A 1-for-0. Trick running away. Gets the shield. Stays alive. Make that a 2-for-0. A double for Sven. The damage up and is dead. The flash follow for Pricks. Looking for the take in the support role. Can't quite. Won't get. One more shot will do it. Can't quite get in range as Sven. The flash follow is slow as they expect to take one down. A rampage for the Gangplank.
They're getting it all right now. They're in the base of SKT. 30 minutes into this game, and G2, they're dominating.
And G2 hoping history can repeat itself. Every best of 5's at 3-1. It's a joke to some, but maybe it can happen. G2 Esports about to strike back, about to close down the game. The 4th death for Faker. The ace courtesy of Sven. And the European LCS as G2 Esports have tied up the series.
What a game!
Everyone says you can't make mistakes against SKT, but when G2 are playing this well, you can't make mistakes against them. The level of play has not been seen yet from G2 until now. This playoff run, getting into the top 4 based on a tiebreaker. Expected to lose to Team WE, winning that one 3-1 anyway. Expected to get smashed by SKT and winning game 2 here. This is a G2 unlike any other.
It's fantastic to watch them at their peak right now. Like, everything's just clicking for them at the moment. You know, every member is playing well. They trust in Trick again. He's active on the Lee Sin. And it all starts so early on in the game with just Faker getting put in the dumpster because he has no summoners. And then they use that advantage to go into the side lanes as well with Trick and just snowball every single lane.
G2 playing on all cylinders right now. We'll see if they can keep that one going or if SKT can bounce back. But first, let's check with our analysts.
A big smile on Deficio's face there as they throw it over here. G2 evening up the series 1-1 with another really impressive early game. We heard Mithy say it. They're the best team in EU rather. They feel like they can make SKT struggle. They're doing more than that. They're pushing SKT to their limits.
I mean, Perks has just been unreal this tournament.
Even in the group stages, in their losses, he was dominant against Faker in lane. Now 2 games in a row, he has been incredible in lane. And now this time, the whole team was firing, and they felt like they finally found an answer to Galio, which was massive as well. And I love that you talk about Perks, because the amount of resources SKT now 2 games in a row have had to put in to try and halve laning phase, to try to bail Faker out of laning phase. Because remember, he only got back in game 1 contrast with the G2 suffering a few deaths and getting a bit of free time to farm up and close what was another big lead for Perks. Phoenix spent a lot of time in the mid lane. Huni used 3 Galio ultimates mid lane, and only on the 3rd one did they get the kill on the Perks, and that ended up costing them most of the turret health in the top lane. So you could see how much pressure Perks was demanding. That's usually what we talk about Faker in the mid lane doing to the other team. So we got to see the other end of the coin here, and that's what gave them a lot of that early game lead. But I also, we just had the team composition graphic up there, want to commend them for finding a way to pick scaling, because when the other team...
You have that gangplank pick, and when you can get it ahead early, it's great for the late.
And we talk about team comps, so remember, this is once again SKT looking to skirmish with their jungler. Normal plan, but when you have the Ivern, they keep going for Ivern Galio skirmishes and just picking to choose these sort of as chasing in seems greedy.
And this is actually something really important to highlight. If Peanut would have done a different Ivern route, he would have been level 4 there, and it would have been much different, but props to Trick for doing the big plays on Lee Sin.
And also, so much credit has to go this game to expect. The Galio for Huni has been so incredible throughout this tournament, and I think that GP was a very intelligent pick, and it was played exceptionally well. It's strong in the 1v1, and the scaling that Chad talked about, it can take over late.
And let's remember, the 2 players we are most concerned about through the group stage for G2 were Trick and Expect, and how they might match up against their lane opponents moving into the bracket stage. Both of these guys have stepped up massively, even on this Lee Sin pick. Again, what we were saying, a lot of people don't have to worry about Trick's Lee Sin. Well, hey, it's working out for him here in game 2.
And look at that 2-level advantage in the mid lane for Perks right here. Faker just trying to get that level 5 CS, which he does do, but that's after the Cinder ultimate had been placed on him.
I mean, SKT got solo killed in top, solo killed in mid. I think the draft, G2 got some advantage. So once again, even Youngbuck, who we commended, has been doing some great work here as well. So suddenly, for the first time, it feels like there's question marks on SKT in a way that's more than just how big is their wing going to be or what type of style are they going to play next game. They need to start reacting to what questions G2 are posing.
Yeah, but now, Isaiah, let's go ahead and take a look at that point in the game where most people would say, uh-oh, this is where SKT grabs control back.
Yeah, and this is what all the SKTU games feel like they look like. It's like, oh, Perks is really ahead. Oh, he just got solo killed by Faker.
By a 2-level under Faker.
Like, what is happening bot lane? Oh no, someone's dead here too. And this is where you think the whole game is going to fall apart. But G2 navigates this dive so incredibly well.
Yeah, bend but don't break. They are not tilted from having their jungler and mid laner dive. They move between the turrets so well. Watch specifically just Expect and Sven and the way they space and never allow Huni to find the right taunt, which his team can follow up on. He flashes in, True got the taunt where no one can follow up, and then Expect just beautifully dances under the turret.
And the only damage here is Bang, and he was no way going to be able to follow up the flash. Like you say, he tanks turret because he has the W available from Tahm Kench to get out. But again, there's no focus from SKT. It's kind of haphazardly throwing everything at G2 and finding nothing.
And it's not just the fact that they survived this. They're able to turn this into multiple kills and the Infernal. The objective focus was there for G2, and that was what they really didn't get in game 1. They were never able to snowball it into something more, and this play here was another great one from Trick.
Yeah, knowing that Faker was walking through Drake, having Expect with the presence of mind to combo up with that kick, gave them the third Drake as well, because we thought that was going to be the turning point in the game, but then it swung right back, and G2 continued to play with confidence, which is something that they did not relent on after losing that lead in game 1. We've seen it so many times. The first game is close. They lose late in game 2, and then lose late in game 1, and then the rest of the series feels like it's going in that direction. Not this time.
Yeah, here they push the pace ahead to this Acer replay here. The 4-4-0 plus the Baron for G2. Kind of putting the nail in the coffin here for SKT.
And you know, when you have to respect so much from G2, this is of course the Cannon Barrage. And yes, they get the single target disengage, but Trick comes up big. The word was, the Lee Sin was working in scrims, certainly not on stage in week 1, but on stage in game 2.
Yeah, this really was the death blow, but again, another skirmish played very well by G2. Individual outplays, individual great plays. I mean, Mithy jumping back over the wall to defend his AD carry, allowing Expect the time to come in and clean up these kills.
All right, so Jet. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Bobby.
Just one thing to take away, I got that one, is that you can't blind pick together. I think for either team, it feels like the Fiora and now the Gangplank are answers. And what looked like a pick that could kind of strangle the life out of top lane matchups is now a bit under the question mark.
All right, so now, Jet, looking ahead to game 3, we talked so much about SKT and how you got to go late against them. Well, here we had G2. Yeah. They went late against them with a comp that would be at least comfortable going late, but they're still able to push the pace early. You got to do it so many more times, though.
Exactly. No one actually has an answer for how to beat SKT because they win too much. But what you have to do is you have to pick your poison and pick what you are strongest with and just go for that strategy. So you could see SKT still picking for scaling. They had the front line. They still had the Ivern with the Ashe for good shielding compositions. But at least when G2 got that early game advantage, what they've now done 2 games in a row, they did have a way of converting it in the late game. So they have to continue to prioritize those chips.
And I just want to go back to you, Azale, because at the beginning of the day, you said you're looking at G2, and they've got to play the best League of Legends that they've played in their entire lives here. Not only do they have to do it, they've done it in 1 game here. Game 2, they played the best League of Legends they've ever played. They got to win. They got to do it 2 more times in order to get that crown.
And I mean, they're playing incredibly well, and something I'm going to be looking at is Peanut and Huni. They did not have good games in Game 2. This is their first, major international title that they are chasing, and they have to be able to step up and deal with that pressure. The rest of the team is tried and true, but these guys, there may be some question marks. We'll see if they can bounce back in Game 3.
Either way, we've got ourselves a series, and I'm excited. We're stepping away for a quick break. When we return, we've got Game 3 between G2 and SKT. Don't go anywhere. You'd be great.
He's going to stay alive so far. Down to 200 HP, puts the shield back on. Expect 1 hit away from dead, gets the shield yet again. Trick back in. One more kill up to it. First blood in for G2 yet again. The gank is in for Peanut. 1 point to has been so low. He's been slowed. He was already stunned. And that's going to be the double kill in for Sven. We're leaving the European LCS. He's running away to stay alive. 1 more shot, 2 more will do it. And that's the kill picked up for Sven. G2 Esports about to strike back, about to close down the game. The ace courtesy of Sven in the European LCS as G2 Esports have tied up the series. G2 Esports heading into our 3rd game of this best of 5. SKT's turn to choose what side. Blue side seems to be the pick of the day, of the week, of the tournament so far. So back to the same size as game 1.
Makes sense, Lee Sin was stolen away from Peanut. In this 2nd game, he was locked in on Ivern. Didn't really have much of a game to speak of, and the Lee Sin will be huge as a potential first pick again for him. Maybe a ban from G2, but they're kind of locked in this Lulu Karma Cannon, and it's hard to change that.
Yeah, I think the biggest part about the Lee Sin was still the takeaway from Peanut rather than huge difference from other champions that Trick would play. So maybe SKT do adapt and they ban out the Ivern and force G2 to go for something like banning the Lee Sin. But we shall see. Mid lane is definitely going to rise in priority. Syndra not going to be available for perks this time around. Such a lane dominant champion.
Yeah, and then the last game SKT banned like all these hyper carries like Twitch against Sven, even though he really prefers things like Caitlyn above it most of the time, but we did just see a good performance from him.
I actually wonder, I'm a little bit surprised that G2 is pulling themselves on these support bans, because if Lee Sin is the first pick worthy champion, does that not leave you up to take the Karmas and Lulus for yourself? Or potentially those champions are still more viable, but it would allow you to trade up and take the Lee Sin away still.
Yeah, team seems to agree that Lulu is the #1 pick, so you don't want to leave her open on red side, because then that's a good first pick no matter what, but you can definitely trade like Lee Sin for Karma. One way or the other, either Lee Sin goes to SKT and G2 gets the Karma, or the other way around, but they stick to the exact same bans.
It does leave them the opportunity to take the Zyra away that Wolf had played and then later banned out. Maybe that's an option for them here. We'll see what kind of style they go for.
Yeah, Mythy really wants melee supports if he can get it. That's why banning Zyra was smart against WE from G2 Esports.
Ashe Olaf.
Okay.
I like it. The long-range initiation available from the bottom lane allows you to be more flexible with your other lane's picks. Olaf has definitely been the go-to pick here for Trick after the Graves and after the Ivern, but now he's actually going to it with those available.
Also, though, the Ashe takeaway, which is probably why he's going for Olaf, because they're not running like Caitlyn Ivern as we've seen before, but the Ashe is more or less a takeaway from the Ashe Zyra lane that SKT ran in the first game that G2 did kind of struggle against. They lost that early tower. So I think this is a takeaway, and then they adapt and say, okay, let's play more early mid-game than the scaling of Ivern Caitlyn.
still interesting a bit to see the Olaf grab so early. They want to wait for the champs to be grabbed, and that's exactly why Misfortune's support gonna be the insta-lock. Ash MF was the lane combo that almost took out SKT at Worlds last year. It was Rox Tigers who debuted the duo, and those are the two games that Rox won in that series. SKT now back in a major tournament best of 5, and it's G2 Esports hoping that lane can win for them.
It's such a fun matchup to watch between the supports. Like, it's a skill matchup 100%. A lot of people like to take MF against Zyra, but you still have to execute that lane, and it's not easy. Yes, you can one-shot the plants very easily, but there's a lot of ways you can die as MF.
And now they have to decide between, you know, banning out this Viz that has been very flexible and is still flexible as far as both solo laners still being up, or actually, you know, taking out Orianna, which has been one of the most played champions actually for both of those mid laners.
Yeah, I like.
And there he is.
I think it's smart, as you said there, Kobe. Like, just get rid of it because it's so annoying to deal with. LeBlanc is well removed, so Orianna as a mid laner obviously going up in priority. Looking at all the mid lane bans. Galio is open, so is Fiora as the counter pick to it, and the Gangplank we obviously saw last game. So blind picking Galio is not that safe anymore. And suddenly things like Gragas might actually be a safer blind pick to go for, but there's still some risk involved.
Yeah, and I actually kind of like this idea, blind picking the Orianna. With Cinder already off the table, that's the most common counter pick here, and it still leaves Expect the opportunity to say, if you play tanks again, I'll just bring the Gangplank back, and this is the texture that G2 goes for.
Possible haste here for Olaf as well. Orianna definitely more dynamic than a lot of the other mid laners, shoring up some of the team fight for this squad. Whenever you do lock in the Ashe MF as well, you have to worry about 100%ing something like Zyra. It's not just, oh yeah, killing plants early and having that extra move speed, but the double level 6 is a huge, huge threat.
Lucian's still up. Nah, he's not gonna go for it. Lucian had been good on Orianna, and G2 had kept banning it away the entire series. I was like, what if he goes for it? Ahri back in, though.
Ahri again. So once again, this is a matchup Perkz likes to play. Syndra Orianna against Ahri, both of them are just fine for him, because early on, Orianna has a lot of control in this lane as well. Blind pick top for SKT. Now, I would personally love a tank that can hard engage on the side of G2 Esports, because they have Olaf running in, MF ulti, Ashe arrow, and you have someone then you can put the ball onto that's not just the Olaf, who's obviously diving against that one squishy. And if you get some more hard engage here, then it's really easy to reach the backline of SKT.
You know what else is really easy to reach the backline is with the equalizer from Rumble, though. Not Ashe, MF, and Orianna, none of them have any sort of dashes built into their kits, so Huni, with good placement, could get a lot of value there.
I like the Galio here as well, just because his ulti adds to the hard engage of G2, which of course is now the Olaf running in, and then the CC comes from the Galio ulti. So combining the two champions, then you get sort of hard engage from them, and they can put the ball on Trick.
And that's what we were talking about with the early Ashe pick, adding some more flexibility. Ashe can hold them in place with an arrow that does hit for the Olaf to actually walk in there, not necessarily instantly get the Galio into place.
It's going to be a fun one to watch for. G2 certainly have a great team fighting comp. SKT, very strong bot lane duo, as it's been called before, a skill matchup that'll be fun one to watch for. But now Huni is back on his most played champion of the year in the Rumble, back on a carry style, and SKT say, all right, Huni, it's time for you to bring it home for us.
And I like the pick potential on both sides as well, simply meaning whenever someone is out of position in this game, you're expecting an engage to happen. Like Ahri Lee Sin, it is very difficult to get away from champions with that much mobility, and then of course on the other side, a ghosting Olaf, Ashe arrow, everything flying at you. So this should be a super action-packed game with a lot of fights.
Exactly. This is actually a 5-threat team comp from SK Telecom, something we have seen them snowball very, very effectively. So you have to be super cautious in that early game, where G2 have actually been the ones to shine so far in this series.
We'll see if G2 can keep shining a bit brighter. Now only squishies and no real defensive tools left over now on SK Telecom T1. Any one of those champions are reasonable Ashe arrow targets, none of them huge tanks here, and we'll see if they can make that one happen. Lineups and champions on your screen one final time as we head into game 3 of this best of 5, tied up 1-1. And we'll see who can take the lead in this series now. G2 have had great early games, and they've closed out one of the two so far.
And I really like that point with the Ashe arrow against all the squishy members, because Zyra is support where it's kind of awkward for you to build Mikhails. So you don't actually get any cleanse unless you go QSS in a game like this for SKT. So if Sven is on point with his arrows, that should be a way for G2 to force a ton of engages and actually get kills from it. Because no one from SKT, outside of that QSS, can actually get out of the arrow.
Have to dodge them, and there is no haste, there is no karma, there is no Lulu for the team to assist with the dodging. Wolf trying to get those seeds down, by the way, moving in to take out that lane presence.
I like how smart he was, just walking up to full vision range of that front rush. If an Olaf throws an axe from max range and hits you, you're probably dead even if you flash. So he played with the right amount of respect, and he's all right with this.
And this is what we saw doing Worlds all the time. The bot lanes would fight each other level 1, because you don't want to let Zyrus step towards the middle of the lane and plant the seeds for the early push. So Mid-Z is doing exactly what he needs to do here. Very defensive position from Wolf, and he doesn't get early advantage on the minion push.
Rex did debut. You see that 2-0 record is entirely from that semifinal versus WE. He hadn't played it before in this tournament. And I remember seeing some people ask, will SKT let him pick it and just try to beat him up? And we'll see if that can happen here. Peanut had been the best jungler this tournament, but Trick has definitely performed better than him in at least these early games.
And I think that the early pushing of the lanes is actually very important as well. Olaf definitely likes to get very low in his jungle clear for extra speed. And Lee Sin and Peanut especially is a guy that really likes to invade early and would be someone that you would point to actually punish that style and look for early kills.
Of course, Olaf is a faster jungler, about 6 to 7 second head start based on killing the Raptors earlier. We'll see if he can keep that pressure on.
He is also definitely going to need to pick up his blue buff. Olaf will have to transition over to that side very quickly here. 2 camps and he'll run pretty close to dry.
There's a chance if Peanut goes from red buff to invading the blue, he'd find a low health Olaf. That will not be the case. Peanut will stay on his side of the map.
Peanut not going for early invades in any of the games we've seen so far. Playing it safe in the early game. The last game he played Lee Sin on, the first game, he farmed for like basically 10-15 minutes while his mid lane was dying.
Yeah, which is surprising because, you know, in the group stage, we saw even the next evolution of early invades, right? If you go to GG and you watch Peanut's solo queue games, he's always invading level 3, looking to kill the enemy jungler. In the competitive scene, though, he invades, you know, with the team on the same page, looking to cut off the enemy jungler's options, you know, funnel them into an area of the map, but they have not done that here, and Trick has actually run rampant.
Yeah, they have not been able to pair up Peanut and Faker for these invades because Faker has been behind in every single lane early on. We talked about this in Champs, like Orianna in this matchup, she gets to push early against Ari. Like Ari needs level 6 before she's really a threat, so Perkz can keep Faker under control.
Another good trade there from him as well, getting the Thunderlord's proc.
And you guys can see how Perkz is staying towards the bottom side because that's where his jungler is positioned. So if a gank should happen from Peanut, Trick is in position to counter gank.
And as well, Peanut is covering for the Rumble, the permanent pushing in that matchup, gets the Scuttle Crab, hovering on that side for his pushing top laner.
And this play by Trick, I believe, is simply intuitive of inferring exactly what Peanut is up to and watching his patterns from before. He's often a unpredictable jungler, but in this case, he's able to, without wards at all, just take Perkz away, knowing Lee Sin didn't go for this kind of invade here. Perkz really pushing Faker to the limit. But here's Huni on the roam, down to the mid lane of the map. Not going to find much. Quick trade on the bot side. Ghost already popped by Trick means the flash forced out of Wolf.
Wolf didn't want to get chunked down and force the early recall, so just used the flash instead. Now Perkz needs to be careful because his jungler just showed.
Yeah, but so did Lee Sin on this ward right here. So Perkz, can he dodge the skill shot? Nice ward hop forward, lands it slow. Can he get away from the Q? Yes, great juke by Perkz. Gets away from Peanut.
Yeah, he has the confidence. He doesn't have to flash. You know, he still has the barrier there as well. Expect did use teleport, but a very good outplay from Perkz.
And not the first time he's done this against Peanut. In the group stages, we saw Peanut gank on Olaf. You know, the axes were just dodged left and right by Perkz here. Very good with the quick movements here on the very low ping. And Expect will go back to top lane, so the fact he lost TP will hurt him a bit in the lane.
Yeah, Peanut still got value out of that gank, even though it was good dancing moves there from Perkz. As top lane, you have to worry about Huni teleport advantage now.
It's actually a TP list expected, makes it maybe a gank potential. Not going to happen just yet. Trick once again showing in mid, and Peanut says, okay, now I can go ahead and grab these Krugs and steal them away from you.
Yeah, we have to remember the damage reduction on Galio here makes it kind of tricky to dive him early. Also with no ulti from Huni, he's only level 5. It seems like they're just taking the camp instead. And Expect now needs to be careful because he doesn't know where the jungler is. Pushing up.
so far in this match. He's been trading with Huni pretty closely.
He's getting baited. He's just getting baited.
100%. Huni, here comes Peanut down 100 HP, but Expect might not have the damage. One more pass drive, but it gets shielded off anyway. Does flash away the Sonic Wave, and he might be able to run away, but Huni's gonna have a slow soon. The flash, gonna get away with it. One more hit, can't make it happen. First blood, finally, vengeance for SKT.
So good right there. Huni fully expecting him to look for the first blood kill, going offensive. They bait him in and then flash it so they get the first blood.
So close in the end though for Expect. Oh my god, the bait, the setup, and then the turnaround. 3 flashes were used at the same time.
Yeah. But the farm has been so good for G2. Despite a first blood, the gold is still equal because of laning phase prowess. Faker now in a battle with the jungler. We'll watch that in a second because he's got a replay.
No one died. No one died.
Just yet. It's okay. They did get away with it.
All right, so immediately, as soon as Expect goes in for this very big trade, Peanut heads right back up the river. Huni still took a lot of damage though here, so they're expecting him to go for the first blood play. You can see Huni continually sidestepping back there. And even with that, almost gets taken down by the Winds of War.
Yeah, Peanut flashing there to block in case Expect was trying to dash towards his own tower.
Yeah.
Huni obviously flashed to avoid taking the damage and actually dying.
Very close one, and even crucially more, you talk about it, that was already after Expect's first TP. He was actually up items in that fight and still got taken down, so had to take the slow walk back to lane. Huni gets a nice full recall with an entire Haunting guys now in inventory. That's going to feel real good for the Rumble.
First time SKT gets a bit of an early advantage with a kill up top lane right now. Faker is still struggling in the matchup. He said it in Champ Select. The last second login on Ahri. I don't know if that was more of a panic login than anything, but they had to just go for something in the end.
It's a matchup that Faker played before, and Perch was up something like 18 minions in the first 10 minutes, but then by 15, Faker had flipped it and gotten an advantage back. So it might happen the exact same way, where Faker just needs to hit 10 minutes into the game, and he'll turn it back around, but it's the same early advantage that Perch had against him in the group stage. Nice chunk.
All right, now we still have to return to the river control as well. Trick now, level 6, has Ghost available, and all the action in the top side. Like you said, Deficio, 3 flashes were blown at once. That is a playing ground for Olaf, level 6, with Ghost available, so Huni has to be much more careful up here.
Yeah, so Perks can move top lane, or Perks can move bottom lane, because that's where the level 6 of Ashe is coming in. Now, if you guys remember, during Worlds, Ashe would hit level 6, shoot an arrow against the Zyra. Zyra would have to flash it, and then you would go down and return gank once the arrow was ready. Wolf's flash is still on cooldown.
40 seconds.
Sven just hit level 6. That is an opening for G2, but Trick is showing top.
Exactly. Onto a ward, though, so this is one of those scouting moves here where Trick a lot of lane ganks in their series versus Team WE. It looks like SKT are setting up a counter of their own, but not going to be taken here.
They saw the ward corpse and they realized if he knows what's going on and he's still pushing, Peanut must be waiting in the wings there.
Like you said down bottom though, the combination of those ultimates is very potent. The Misfortune ulting as soon as the Ashe arrow is fired against someone who doesn't have flash can take out 80% of a Zyra's health.
Yeah, that's why I really want to see Trick be on that bottom side. Like the call should come in, we're hitting level 6, like in about 20 seconds time, like you should be in the bottom side now. We can go for this kill. Even on the tower, they can go for it. But obviously Trick also saying, I need to protect my top laner. He doesn't have a flash.
And sometimes it can even be a mind game of, everyone expects me to gank this bot lane and wait in the brush. Huni would never see this one coming. It's a stretch, but sometimes it happens.
Like I said before, you know, it's kind of a playing ground up in the top side with all 3 of those flashes blown, and Trick did want to take advantage there, but seeing that ward expire, the game is up. He's going to have to return to the other bottom side of the map.
G2 winning farm mid and bot lane. Sven Mithi playing their matchup extremely well. All started with him stopping that early push level 1. Now Faker is spotted on this ward here. Trick is on his way.
Bit of movement speed running away for this one. Perch gonna look for the shockwave for the trade of ultimates. Faker with the blue makes it a pretty short cooldown though, jumping back forward and not gonna take any damage for this one. Arrow's gonna land though, forcing the flash out, and that is, as you predicted, the ult for flash. Number 1.
And once this ult is ready again, from Sven, let's see, 84 seconds. Well, then you have a very easy engage bot lane against the no-flash Zyra. Peanut is spot on a ward, and you will see him on the blast cone as well once he shoots it over due to the ward.
And look at Trick. He's waiting in the brush. He's waiting for the counter gank here in the mid lane. Perks, though.
Good equalizer. Perks does have the ability to flash away, but a perfect charge flash from Faker. He is angry from the earlier lanes and gets a kill.
I love the mind games that go into this. Perks wants to dodge onto the equalizer because you would not expect that. But Faker goes the next level and thinks that Perks is going to fake him out with the dodge onto the damaging ultimate. Lands the flash taunt right there. Really nice charm.
Yeah, to add on to that, also Perks saying, I'm going to save my flash until your charm is flying in the air. And Faker's like, yeah, we're not even going to see my charm because I'm just going to charm flash you. Such a nice play from Faker, getting some revenge here. And important, he gets a kill. Look at it, so Faker, so Perks here wants to see the charm first, but no reaction time when you can charm flash. Charge up the charm animation and then flash right after.
And the slow from equalizer so much, even though he did juke in an unorthodox way, he didn't clear enough distance regardless. So proper margins by Faker that almost no juke outside of flash could have dodged it. And this is now a 700 gold lead for SK Telecom T1, the first good early game they've had so far this series. Sven has arrow back up, and Bang may try to tank it for his teammate.
Also, there are multiple deep wards available for early teleports if G2 really wanted, to blow this game open with a 5-man bottom lane party. Looks like we have a recall from Sven, though, so party will be delayed.
They got time, they got time.
Warding as a team, exactly. They've got several minutes for this one, so the wards will try to make sure that Peanut's not around when they do pull the trigger.
They definitely want to make it happen, though. They're setting all the preparation here. Deep wards, control wards actually being cleared out as well.
But they're down here too early because Sven just recalled. They're not actually in a rush. They could have placed the ward out of the jungle once again, and then look for the play with Sven. Now they already showed on the bottom side.
Yeah, Trick does show himself. Red is responding fairly soon here, though, and might just move right back up for it.
The play early, flash forced out, still waiting for the charm. Finally, Perks does juke it. Faker tried to predict it, but still properly done there. And Trick will try to steal some Raptors away, but be careful because Peanut and Faker are back in the mix here.
Yeah, he just lost mid lane control.
Kick back in, smites away one of the Raptors at the very least, but Peanut does force the ulti out, and here comes the teleport in. Here's the snipe in. Wolf's going to get the double knock, and this is going to be an absolute slaughter. Mithy's got no way out. SKT wiping the floor with G2, and Perks is up next. The flash Q to follow. The shockwave won't buy enough time. 3 quick kills for SKT.
Huge mistake to call for that invade. Whoever made that call made a very big blunder. Perks was just forced out of mid lane, had his flash blown, so there was a much easier route for a collapse from SKT.
Oh, Sven stopped recall. He was completing it, and I don't know if Bang is the reason he stopped or not, but now getting a bit more damage to this one, and Sven has to chase forward because their turrets, maybe keeping the rest of the team away is not going to matter. Quick kill picked up. Peanut now 2-0-2.
And it happens so quickly when you make a wrong call against SKT. Everyone just went down except for Expect, who's back up in his top lane, and he's just trying to get some farm while his team is dying.
That is a big blunder, and multiple members committed to that invade and committed to trying to salvage that invade after they had seen, this was a very poor call. Here we go, though. Trick does not ultimate on Olaf early, which is something you can do to avoid that kickback, and he actually chases in during the ultimate timer here, so Wolf already in place gets to land a very easy lockup out of that brush.
Yeah, and the wards played earlier by G2, while we see Perks office go down here against Peanut. Those wards were placed pretty deep into the jungle. They didn't actually see the entrance where Wolf just walked from bot lane up behind them and then caught them with the snare and the ulti. Huge play from SKT, and that opening in the bottom lane with no flash on Zyra. They walked down there too early while Sven was back in base, and then they re-enter the jungle when Perks is not ready to fight. Definitely some miscommunication, mis-synergy right there from G2, and they get punished for it.
Crucial timings have been missed here in the last few minutes for G2. They do get back out onto the field to grab the dragon, but mid lane under pressure.
So playing no angle on a charm shot. I'm going to pull in Wolf for a bit of damage. Here comes Trick. That's going to be a dead support, and the dive is more than they needed. They didn't have the wards to track for Trick.
They're over-diving Perks here. Really good evade right there, and he sucks in Wolf, able to get the counter kill at least, salvaging something here for G2, even though SKT is still on the warpath.
Definitely are. We'll see if more can be grabbed right now. Red buff still definitely quite nice to be had. G2 only with 1 kill, 2,000 gold down, only a cloud drink to their name. And that ward sees that Trick is running into this side of the map.
He's towards bottom lane now once again. Sven is there with his ulti. They want to get some pressure on this tower.
It's a lot of damage. They might get first turret, actually. Mid lane seems healthy enough, and Rumble's not the king of pushing.
It's good to at least get it now. They would have loved to get this one much earlier with the advantage they did have on the bottom side, but they will at least get the tower trick just here for support.
All right, and that's actually pretty important. G2, who are down 5 kills, able to get both of the global objectives so far, but now maybe a dive towards Expect. W back on cooldown.
Yep, Faker is coming as well. They definitely want to make this work.
Here comes the play. He's going to flash the charm. A bit of damage towards Huni. Will survive the turret shot, though, and the kill comes through. Even the assist towards Faker.
No one can help poor Expect up in that top lane. He's been left alone quite a few times.
Well, they make a power play with 3 members on the bottom side. They know top side is their weak side, and Faker, there's no vision on him, so they're unable to really do anything there and definitely overstay.
Yeah, very often you want to see your top laner actually just leave the lane when a play like this is happening in the bottom lane. But it's also so risky as a top laner to do that, because if you might lose out on 1 or 2 waves of experience, and then you start falling behind like that. And it's a tricky situation as the one guy who's stuck up there while his team is busy on the other side.
Take another look here as they started off with the slow from Huni. Faker's able to come in, and they've already gotten the flash out. Plenty of extra ultimates for SKT to use there, as they had all 3 people available.
Yeah, I understand that Expect wants to try and get the big outplay and maybe get someone low enough so Perkz can walk up and kill them, but oftentimes just save the flash. Like, just accept that now you got your farm, you're gonna get killed, they can't take the tower, and have that flash ready for the next fight. Now that's gone as well, and he's another target.
Exactly. The Galio taunt flash is a big part of really bringing the team fight together for G2 if they're going to be able to pull this one off. Because remember, that's kind of one of their advantages, is if they can all group up to the 5-on-5, they have a decent amount of crowd control to work with against this SKT lineup that is very offensive.
Of course, the ult out of Faker, the ult roll not the worst. Bit of a slow zone. Shockwave lands into a couple. Good damage out of Faker, down to 500 HP. Turret still taking shots. Marksman to put the attacks in, not going to fall just yet, though.
Yeah, big misplay there. Faker takes a huge chunk in health, but the whole time they defend this mid turret. Bang is pushing, gets him alone time with the turret on top side.
Depends how greedy he is, because G2 are rotating up. The Ashe MF can get some damage. Blue trinket for Bang buys some time.
Oh, he wants it.
He's going to maybe lose his life for it, though. He's got Zyra coming around, and actually G2 won't go for the kill.
Yeah, exactly. The Romir, Peanut, and Wolf just matching what we see from G2, so they were there for a fight. TP as well for Huni, so Bang feeling confident he can take the tower, and he gets it as well, so more gold now for SKT.
Yeah, cool, calm, just lines up 3 traps to cut off that avenue into the lane, and he's able to take the global objective here. Local gold all going to Bang as well, so he can further fund this Infinity Edge crit build. He's going for the extra multipliers now for Caitlyn to really get past that mid-game lull.
Yeah, and Faker's also right back in the game because he got these 2 kills on Ahri. He was down in farm, but once you pick up a few kills, you get quickly towards your 2-item spike. Especially Luden's Echo is great to have for more burst when you do jump in as Ahri here, and building towards it at the moment. Have to respect his damage.
Next up on this one, Faker. Just waves him in the mid lane, feels pretty safe. There's no hard CC in his face just yet right here. Mid lane outer still incredibly low. G2 can knock that one down if they can push Faker out of lane, but it's SKT still. Sitting 2,500 gold up in Peanut.
It's a trap.
Got an Ashe in his eyes. That's a flash force out of Mithy. Revenge from earlier. And looks like Faker's going to be okay with this one. Sven gets away from Peanut. With the Rift Herald buff, he's still very scary. And Sven not being allowed to defend this. And you can see backing off the wave. And it says, no, we can see Peanut. He's got to leave now as well with the Blast Clone. Sure, it will stay alive for now.
But look at mid lane. Huni is around that lane with ulti available. SKT constantly looking for some fights.
Yeah, G2 already rotating down to the Drake, though. And they do have a decent amount of vision control in this river. Setting themselves up. Teleport's available for both top laners. Ashe Arrow is also available, so you know they have the tools to pull off a 5-man team fight if they can draw SKT into an area where they can actually land these abilities.
And we said earlier, no one from SKT can get out of that arrow. Mikhail's is not exactly an item you rush on Zyra. If you can avoid a QSS, the same. You will obviously go for it later if you're Bang, and possibly for Faker if he feels confident, or if he doesn't feel confident. But I guess he's going to skip it and just say, I can use an ulti charge to get out of the arrow.
They do all have flashes available for the incoming team fight, and might have to blow one of those early on it.
go. Neutrals are alive. Baron and Drake together. G2 going to be able to get control over the Scuttle Crab on the south side. Important to have. Going to be much harder to sneak away, but SKT do have a Trinket Ward inside that Drake pit as well, so likewise G2 can't steal anything sneakily. Still playing the wave clear game. Faker second to the party after Perkz already shoved in mid.
And because of all the farm on G2's side, then they're only 2k down at this point, despite it being 7-1 in kills. So the next fight here is still very open. And G2, if they can get up a proper combo with the Shockwave, and of course with his ulti and MF, then that's a ton of damage this early in the game.
Bang over. SKT got a few seconds. They're going to go back to the Drake pit and not get a lot.
Yeah, Perkz actually going for the single man health advantage there with the Shockwave, so they don't have the combo if the fight starts out very quickly here. But he got a decent chunk onto Faker, who's had to rotate down bottom and healed off that minion wave.
Perkz is also sitting on over 2,000 gold at the moment, so he's actually not ready to fight.
I mean, he's also out of mana, so...
He's definitely not ready to fight. And Dragon is alive, so it's a bit of a mistake. He hasn't actually gone back to base. If G2 were looking to contest the Drake, because now they have to just call it off and say, we can't actually fight this, our mid laner has to go back.
Right now, G2, all they're able to do is just take the waves on their side of the map. The Ashe MF in the bot lane just last hitting under their turret. Even the Galio didn't get a lot done. He shoved one wave and went back to his jungle. So SKT, with some good control of the mid lane wave and getting Perkz out of mana, takes him out and Drake uncontested.
Yeah, and I think that G2 do have to be cautious at this point. SKT have a pretty sizable gold lead, so they need some really advantageous terrain to kind of help them out in this team fight and be able to land these abilities, like we said. You know, the possibility of that arrow missing would really be devastating for these guys because they really need to layer these abilities. As you said, combo Deficio.
Yeah, just will not really get much easier for G2 to fight either. Like Caitlyn right now in the mid game when she hasn't completed multiple attack speed items, that's kind of where you want to fight against her. And when you have this combo and the base damage of an MF ulti, well, you have to kind of use that early on in the game for it to really have insane impact.
They are definitely not looking to fight. Another ultimate here.
One.
This ultimate used 4 wave clear. So G2 still looking to stall.
You see the pressure they're under. Single man Shockwave felt like the right choice for Perkz. Shockwaving a cannon and a catch committee together felt like the right Shockwave for Perkz. He's definitely not finding kills for himself now. G2 just hoping to weather the storm a bit longer. Maybe waiting for the Hurricane to finish for his Sven, who stopped by Hex Drinker. He's so afraid of the damage as well.
Like, try and get 2 items on everyone. They've completed now also on Perkz. Mithy, he would love to get level 11, but it's hard as a support to get enough experience to get that fast enough. They did defend that mid tower, which of course is important, and the cooldown on Shockwave is not that long. With all the cooldown reduction on Perkz, it's almost up again.
Bottom lane quickly falls though, and Huni with this rumble, equalizer definitely available. Lots of magic penetration on him. The backline squishy members that we mentioned, you know, Perkz, Sven, and Mithy, no escapes to their name. So if they are without flash, then it'll be difficult for them to avoid that equalizer.
Let's see what they can get. Take a look at the flame, flashes for, lands the charm, Perkz knocked up as well, the damage should be there. Shockwave is a complete airball, and SKT make it 8-1.
And then all started with Wolf hiding in that little brush here near the mid lane, and he caught Perkz with a Brood, and then instant reaction from Faker to get the kills, and now this mid tower is going down.
Yeah, G2 have to be so careful at the moment. They cannot afford to fight without Perkz. They have to seed objectives.
This is what we see so often. When you lose that mid game and you lose the mid lane all of a sudden, that was a flash by Huni to dodge the arrow, so that's one gone. But when you lose that mid lane, river control, it's gone. You can't see anything in the brushes. You can't really move around your lane. Because then things like a Zyra Root, a simple thing, can just cost everything.
Look at the damage I put on the Sven. That was just for poke. They weren't even trying to all-in that one, and he's down below a half HP, so we'll have to back up, but life is getting hard for G2.
Yeah, while SKT absorb pressure in the mid lane, they push on top side. And again, Bang is getting a pretty good lead here. Lots of farm funneled into him with traps, and Peanut as the scout for him gets it all the way into the turret.
SKT definitely playing a very smart yet relentless mid game. No real openings to kill them. It's just been steady pressure, steady advantages. And here comes the attempt on the close one on the Sven. Did get to use the heal to get away, but ult for heal sounds good for Faker.
Yeah, Faker knew he could go in for that trade to try and force a summoner because the Ashe arrow was down. No threat of getting arrowed under the turret. Really like how it'll take any opportunity, tracking those cooldowns, to be able to exploit you and get another out of you.
To remember again now, this is the route from before. This is what I talk about. Like, you don't have any vision around the lane in the river, so you can't really move around. It's so hard to play against.
Yeah, and you can tell, you know, he's moved the ball up to get vision. However, he's already in place in range for the snare to land, so he knew what he needed to do, and he knew he had to be cautious there, but already into position, and Wolf able to land the snare.
And we talked about the G2 combo in terms of how they can start fights as well. Like Ashe arrow flies in, then Olaf with Ghost, and of course the Galio ults onto the Olaf to get into that backline of SKT. It's so hard for them to find that engage with Sven because of the flashes you talked about earlier, Kobe. And the fact that SKT just have the map control. Like, you're not really shooting an arrow from out of vision if you're Sven. You're always sitting in mid lane near minions.
Exactly. I think that we do need, again, toggle vision, fog of war from G2's perspective, because SKT have so many picks. Uh-oh, Trick actually going in now.
A little bit of slow on and bang a stun on Faker as well. Will they have the follow through with Orianna? They're going to try with the shockwave. Meanwhile, the rest of the team getting away. Perk's going to survive, and there's a shutdown coming through for Sven. Courtesy of a flash.
Oh, greedy Faker.
And Hootie on the wrong side.
G2 on the offensive, chasing down Hootie now.
He's got no way out. He can go for some damage. Can he pick one off with him? A quick shot towards Perks. A double root comes in. Doesn't mean much. 2 for 0. Solo winners are dead. Still more of a fight. SKT looking to put down as much damage as they can. And they are able to clear the minion wave away. Just the 2 for 0. Nothing else picked up for G2.
Faker gets caught. No summoners. And he actually ults back into Perks to try and get this kill. Taken down. Hootie actually maybe a little bit baited in by that call to actually turn this around. And SKT now are the ones giving over kills to G2 with the 5-man.
That was the best G2 could have hoped for. We just talked about how hard it is for them to actually start the fight. Like, Faker obviously with this Ahri could have dodged that ulti so easily, but he didn't. He failed to do it, and then he goes on the aggressive right after.
Yeah. He has really not been backing down from fights, even.
He's angry.
Exactly. Faker's definitely angry.
Definitely is angry 3-0, but the Vessel Scepter, the tank stats for Perks was enough to survive the refight. This game right now, though, still 4,000 apart. G2 have their work cut out for them to catch back up. SKT in control.
And to make it even better for G2, Wolf tried to flash for a re-engage. Bang had to flash away from the Olaf. So now you have your opening for a few minutes where you can hit some of these targets with the arrow from Sven, but they cannot hesitate. This is your way back in the game for G2 Esports. These next minutes will be so crucial for them.
Exactly. The hope for G2 is to try and prey on these mistakes. These openings you talked about, Freak, where SKT actually have to worry about making mistakes against G2.
They haven't made very many in this game right now. It's been SKT pretty much from minute 1, a couple of ganks early on, and Peanut has set these lanes off well. We'll see if G2 can find anything in themselves, but after Peanut still had that Cloud Drake, there's not a lot to fight for G2 as the flashes come back from cooldown.
Oh, but they're setting up around Baron and the enemy jungle to try and catch someone when they walk around blind. Peanut is going for that blue buff.
He's been found out here. Ult pops, but he can't be kicked away. They're going to reveal him with Ashe, and looking for a bit more damage. That stun is going to guarantee his demise. A shutdown comes through for Perks.
Ashe Arrow, Shockwave, and Olaf Ultimate have been used by G2, and now it's up to SKT to try and trade something in a disadvantageous lane setup here. Now they're pushing in mid lane. Good turret there for G2 off the back of it.
Mid lane tier 2 under fire, though. It's actually SKT still pushing in for that one with the rest of their team.
They're on their way back to defend, though. G2 did not have any control wards on them to then clear out the Baron pit and actually start the Baron, despite killing Peanut. That's why they have to go back to base. Get some wards now. You can see 2 on Mithy, 1 on Sven. They have to return to the Summoner's Rim, push the minions back, and then look for another pick before they can go Baron. Missed opportunity due to no control wards, but that's the kind of situation where you can't blame them for it.
Look at that sea of plants right there. Wolf's Garden finds a bit of time as well, but now Sven wants in onto Hootie. Does have flash. Can he get away? Equalizer pops for a bit of time. Can he get the flash follow? Yes, he does. The taunt is on for max duration. Hootie pops the Zonias, but he's got no way out of this one. The kill's going to be grabbed, and I wonder why he even saves the 2-minute cooldown, or maybe he should have. Another kill in the side lane. G2 clawing back into this one, only down 3,000.
3 victories in a row for G2 as they try to get back into this game. SKT, again, always looking for a counter, but it's so dangerous to shove up into the mid lane.
And just like that, trick down a half HP as Faker wants in the follow through for Peanut. No, the ulti prevents the kick from doing anything. Able to survive, but ignites the kill. He's gonna fall down. damage on a Faker. The flash does not at all. The shockwave to miss with a stun on a Faker. That should be enough for the kill, and Perkz gets it. And there's not a lot of follow-up damage anymore. They're waiting to knock down Perkz. There's Peanut. He gets it picked up. Now for Minty, but Exhaust's going to trade his life for it. Maybe Peanut shouldn't quite go. Looks for Minty, can't get the kill. The minions won't get it either. The heal comes through, and G2 stay alive.
Oh, it is getting bloody, boys. SKT diving turrets here, and G2 come out.
Oh, the shot came in just in time.
Remember, Huni was already dead, and SKT with 4 members pushed up to this tower here, lacking flashes and everything, and they still managed to pick up kills.
Peanut goes in very deep to dive Trick, but then Trick walks back into range for Faker to finish the kill. What is going on?
It's great for G2 that they're getting kills when behind, but right there they could have gotten so much more. They didn't have to lose their jungler, and then also Minty using everything, barely hitting anyone after that kill here. Let's see it again. So Trick, this is fine for now. He pops the ulti, and he can run away. This is still good for G2 because it's only 4 members from SKT, and the arrow is ready, but he goes back in and dies.
Yeah, he walks back in. Faker's able to get off his second Spirit Rush there with the Ignite to get the kill. Minty flashes forward, as you said, then Perkz goes forward, uses his ultimate, but the arrow from Sven does land onto Faker, which allows G2 to take him out crucially. Peanut then overextends a bit after his kill, and Sven comes down the mid lane with his heal just barely saving Minty for a while. Then I want to see this as he rushes towards the pink ward. Minty's running towards that True Sight vision, but Bang with the instant blue trinket and ultimate. Very nicely done.
And that big window where we talked about G2 trying to get back in the game. They got some kills, but they're still 4K down. And here, this last fight was actually good for SKT because now their flashes are back up and they have not lost Baron. That's the key thing. G2 had an opening to try and go and force a fight around it, force some kills, and they didn't manage to do it.
And keep in mind, stealing a Baron is very hard for G2. Trick cannot get over the wall without a blast code, and one's not alive right now. It's a Ghost Olaf, so it's not a 50-50, it's an 80-20, even if all 10 players are alive. SKT pulled the cards in this equation here. See if they can make those Baron baits happen.
Mooney pushing up on the bottom lane. First step for SKT always is pushing out these side lanes. You can see it on the mini-map. They've got both of them, and now both solo laners are coming towards the mid lane. There's the flash!
Wolf with a giant knock. It's going to find 3 with the ultimate. Equalizer on top, and Perkz is down. 1 for 0 with no shockwave. A trade only on a support, and Sven not going to make it much longer as well. The chase is in. Look at the beautiful plays out of Faker, crushing the backline by himself. Applause all around. And expect the only one alive is gonna live a while, but SKT can push up the mid.
And you can see it on the mini-map. A light bulb goes off in your head as soon as Huni and Faker show themselves pushing up the side lanes, get past the river, you have to worry about the collapse. SKT, Wolf flashes it. Yes! 10 out of 10 in all aspects and gets the snare.
G2 thought they could step back, you know, see that flank coming and then react to it, but they did not expect the flash Zyra engage.
Wolf comes from Raptors.
From the Raptors. At the very end of it all, mid lane inhibitor turret was dead, and SKT take the right amount of precaution. The inhibitor they don't need. It's the Baron secure they do want, and that's going to be no contest at all. A 10,000 gold lead with 5 Baron buffs for SKT.
They survived the minutes without flash. Then as soon as they had flashes ready, they were looking for that one fight, and the massive engage from Wolf surprised G2 and won that fight for SKT. Look at this again. They think we're spotting the guys coming from the side, but this engage is insane.
God. Wolf gets all 3 members, both of the primary carries, absolutely annihilated before Faker even gets there. Huni had a great equalizer on top of the lines there. That was just beautiful to see from SKT, and you could see the formulation of the play ahead of time.
Pretty insane charm flash as well from Faker. Bang forced the flash.
A small victory, but there's still so much space in the map for SKT to work with. That flash likely unneeded. As they grab Mountain Brick number 2, next one will be Elder. A nice stun on a Faker, but Minty, charm means he's dead. The kill picked up, even without Peanut part of the fight. Expecting the front lines, but he can't really zone out much. SKT able to keep pushing.
And there's no reason to stop. A Baron buff and Nexus in their sights.
That's going to be turret number 1. Turret number 2 next up as well. G2 hoping to turn it back around somewhere.
There's no minions right now. Buying enough time for G2 to try and land some poke, and they have the fountain to go back to and heal.
Going to mean they pause as SKT comes through this wave. We'll see if they come back for more, but it looks like, yes, as Huni and Wolf grab the wave and come back in mid, they're going to close the game out right now.
Here they go. Next line of super baroned up minions coming in. Spec gets taunts.
Look at the damage I put on the supposed tank. Expect nearly dead. Forced to run away. The flash kick onto Sven. Next up, one more shot will do it. Shockwave gonna miss, and Faker's in the back line already. He's killed off the carries. The turrets are dead. And SKT gonna close out game 3, and they will be 1 win away from maintaining their crown. G2 trying to stop, but it's not gonna happen. The minions will close it out. Wolf with the last hit. 2-1 SKT.
I cannot get over how insane that initiation from a Wolf was. What a huge play from the support.
And we got to see SKT in the early game not fall so far behind like we saw in the previous games. They were actually able to get the advantage, kind of control G2 as well. And G2's composition just had like very clear windows it had to abuse to get back in this game. And they had an opening. They got a few kills for it, but the Baron was the key one. They didn't get it. They lost that fight, or were even in that fight in mid. And Wolf's flash back up. Biggest play we've seen probably this game.
That was insane.
Yeah.
Both carries right in a line. Faker.
It's a dream for every Zyra player.
By the way, Faker as well, because we keep bringing up, oh yes, this Ahri is losing in CS early. Perkz is abusing him. Perkz is doing his side of the matchup.
Yeah.
Faker is also doing his side of the matchup later in the game. Multiple taunt charms, landing picks onto these key members.
And it's pretty interesting as well because there's not that many amazing engage tools from SKT. You're hoping for the Flash Zyra E, of course, but much of the time it's Faker venturing into the unknown by himself in front, saying, I'm going to tower dive an Olaf. Trust me, I'm Faker. It's going to work. And so often it does. So
yeah, he'll come back. Yeah, Faker has Ahri charm, and then he has Faker charm.
Sure.
You just got the gravity well. They all come into you. So a well-played game by SKT, controlled from start to finish. And now we're going to send it down to Dash for a closer look at that SKT win.
Thank you very much, Freak. The hallmark of SK Telecom here showing through, as he mentioned, control from start to finish. So while they suffer the loss in game 2, typical rebound from them, not tilting and continuing to push forward.
But this is a riveting series. You know, this is not the series a lot of people predicted. If you pushed all 3 of us for predictions, my gut is we'd probably all say 3-0. So the fact that it has been a competitive 3 games, it's so heartening to see. This is one of the best SKT finals we've had, especially not just Korea for Korea, in a long time.
Yeah, this was, I think, the closest game of the 3 as well, because even when SKT looked to get that small edge, for a time we did see G2 fighting back with the kill in the top lane, a kill in the mid lane, never quite able to turn the corner in the same way SKT actually bent but didn't break against G2 in this one, and then they came across in the end.
Yeah, and I mean, I definitely argue that they weren't fully in control the whole game. I mean, this is a composition, I think, from G2 that as far as if you go super late game, you have a straight up 5v5 team fight without an incredible engage or something like that from Wolf, and I think it should go G2's way. So, you know, they were getting dangerously close to stabilizing the game where the gold lead didn't really matter, and that's when Wolf really came up big for the team.
Yeah, this is another situation where I feel like G2 had a strong draft. They controlled the Galio here, they had a pushing lane in the mid lane with Orianna, and they still had a pretty decent matchup in the bottom lane. So, liked it overall. I think both teams had close to match scaling, but this is definitely a strong draft from G2, and I like their team comp more.
All right, let's take a look at our first replay. This one comes pretty early on. G2 invading into SKT's jungle. SKT has something to say about it, picking up 3 kills.
The first mechanic to really look at here is that Trick ults very late. If he had ulted earlier, Mithy wouldn't have come so far into basically past the Raptors. Wolf, once again, we'll get back to him later, comes up, hits the ult, and this is a punish after it had been a good early game from G2.
And that ultimate you're talking about is to actually immune the kick from the Lee Sin, so he doesn't get pushed farther up. His support has to come up and support him. That gets both of them killed because the TP has time to come through, also gets Perkz killed. That really was a big game changer and something that you'd hope to see something better from Trick on.
Right, that's millisecond decisions though, right? You know, in the moment, are you gonna blow the ult? Are you not? Do you even know if everyone's there? Let's go ahead and push forward to our Acer replay here. This is a big one from SKT. You already hit it. Wolf coming up big in the mid lane.
Just able to hit both carries Perks CC chained.
The equalizer also was clean.
Everything about this fight for SKT was awesome. And this was an incredibly pivotal moment in the game because it looked like G2 was about to get control back from SKT, but MVP play there from Wolf.
Yeah, I mean, the guy said it. If you don't think he's the best support in the world, you don't understand the game. And he's making a case here.
Yeah, Wolf said it.
He's making a case here for himself. I mean, he is coming up with such a big play at the critical time when it felt like G2 really had stabilized and perhaps could take control.
But again, one thing I want fans to really understand is, of course, from this, they largely got their big advantage and closed it, is that it required an insane play, a superstar moment, an MSI moment for them to actually win this game. On the balance, it looked like G2 would get over the line. So even G2 forcing what is one of the greatest players of this tournament without a doubt out of SKT just to go 2-1 up in a series is G2 doing Europe proud and being a contender for this tournament.
It's one of those classic MSI moments, you know, really brings me back to Mata and his Alistar play from last year, and that was kind of iconic, and I think that this play, similarly, different champion, but it's the same idea. It's coming up big when your team needs you, and it's those kind of plays that mean this guy, you know, he's a two-time world champion for a reason.
And to me, this reflects on what we were talking about at the beginning of the day. For G2, this entire year has been about that road to redemption. Well, yesterday they completed that journey, right? And today marks the start of a new journey, that reach for greatness, and they feel, it looks like they're playing unbridled, right? That they have this kind of new freeing feeling that they can play and really push the limits with.
They absolutely are, and there's still those little things that you can tell they really let get to them in that game. Expect the facepalm after the death in the top lane, so close. Perks, questionable summoner spell choice with barrier over cleanse. There were multiple times where the cleanse would have saved him, and it did in game 2 when he brought cleanse against the Ahri. So those are the little things that sometimes you forget about because you have this Titan you're trying to play against an SKT and you're doing it, but you do have to do pretty much everything right.
But there's been 3 games, and none of those 3 games have had that inevitability period. We talked about how in game 2 especially, G2 subverted that and actually got a big lead and stopped it from being run over. It feels like once again we've had 3 games which could have gone kind of either way, which again has me hyped. I've watched so much SKT. Not many teams in Korea could push them like they are here, G2, and that's awesome.
Yeah, even in the LCK finals, KT Rolster, the team designed to beat SKT,
they rolled over
3-0. They tried to go early game and almost all of them got smashed. G2 is finding something that can make them struggle as they said they would.
And what's funny is this is typically the part of the segment where I turn to you guys and I go, okay, we're going to game 4. How does G2 mount to victory? But I don't feel like G2 needs to change much. Again, as we've mentioned, all 3 of these games have had their opportunities to win. It seems like they themselves are confident in the style that they've brought to the table. And so it really is about just, all right, stepping up within the moment, eliminating those minor mistakes.
Yeah, I also feel like this series has become a bit of an arms race for who can get the better late-game team fighting composition. But I will say this. I don't think SKT has used their trump card yet, right?
All right.
You get into these arms races with SKT, and you get to feel like you're close to it. Maybe they go early game. Maybe Faker has a pick we haven't seen before.
Oh, baby.
Maybe they pull out, and it's actually good. Because
go.
they always have something every time they're pushed. And even though they're executing with this one, maybe we wouldn't see it until we see a game 5. But maybe they break from this arms race and punish G2.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. But for me in the drafts, G2 has been getting the better of it because Trick has proven he's a threat on so many different champions. Expect has shown that he can play the GP into the Galio. People have to ban Fiora against him already.